Hello and welcome to episode 96 of On the Bench, the podcast for scale modelers, by scale modelers, all about scale models. And this show is being brought to you through the generous support of DD Luton, Peter Morris, and extremely special shout out to Jeff Martin. These fine people have decided to help to support the podcast, and you can too by going to www.patreon.com/onthebench. And for as little as $1 a month, you can help support the show. Your costs go towards our production costs and hosting costs and are greatly appreciated. The Scale Modeler Supply. Certified Australian made, Scale Model supplies a detailed range of premium acrylic paints that have been specifically developed to cater to the scale modeler. Designed to be used straight from the bottle, SMS paints have taken all the guesswork out of airbrushing. Simply shake the durable glass bottle and pour and spray for a fast drying and extremely durable result. The ever-growing range of SMS paints will suit all types of model builders, be it military, train, car, science fiction or Gunpla. SMS premium acrylic lacquer paints will have a colour to suit you. The Scale Modeler is also your one-stop shop for all your weathering, brushes, masking, tools and accessory needs. SMS paint tools and accessories are available either directly from their website www.scalemodeler.com.au or through stockists across Australia, New Zealand, Singapore and the US. And as a special bonus exclusive to our On The Bench listeners, you will get 10% off by using the promo code OTB when ordering direct from www.scalemodeler.com.au. So go now. Go to scalemodeler.com.au. We know you won't be disappointed. And hello and welcome to the show. And in the studio, I've got Julian. Yay!
I'm going to need you to turn that down a little bit.
Oh, yeah, a bit loud, is it?
Your enthusiasm is what I want you to turn down.
I'm so excited that you're actually here. You got no idea I've been hanging out to have you guys over, except we have to have a bit of a boo-hoo for poor Ian because the current rules and regulations mean that I can only have one person from the same household at my place on the same day. So Ian is coming to us across the interweb.
I am.
That's all right. It'll be his turn next time.
Well, hopefully next time the rules would have changed again so that we can all be in the same place.
Yeah, fingers crossed. But I don't hold my breath for such things.
How was breakfast, Julian? Just a wine.
Oh yeah.
How was breakfast?
It was very nice.
That's all right.
Oh, poor Ian.
No, it's all right. I had a good breakfast too. So.
Or did you serve yourself fussed. Breakfast in bed?
No, but neither did you. I think, unless there's something else going on that you guys haven't said.
No, I just thought you might have something to sort of counter the fact that I had breakfast made for me.
No, but I did get to sleep in.
Yeah, that's a big bonus, isn't it?
Yes,
well, that's a small bonus because you're missing out and seeing me. Come on.
Yeah, all true.
Well, actually, we're quite lucky because we've come out of what has to be the most draconian lockdown around the world. We've been about 120 days, I think, or something like that, Ian. We've been in lockdown.
119 days.
Yeah.
Like a prison sentence.
Yeah, but then we've got to balance that with our other listeners around the world, particularly those in Europe who are going through a horrendous second wave and they're going back into lockdown. So
yeah.
Trust us, guys. We feel for you and understand and know what you're going through. It's just a crap year all around, isn't it?
Yeah.
Unless you're building models.
Yeah, well, it depends on the kind of modeler. If you're the kind of modeler who shows your stuff off, then it's like, I'll go with all these models built and I got no one to show. But if you're the kind of person who doesn't show them to anybody, then it's all good.
Well, we've been showing a lot. I mean, and of course, we've got our Facebook page for our listeners too. If you want to show off what you've been building, we'd love to see that.
Yeah.
But gee, I've been powering through a whole heap of work, and I know Ian has, and you shared yours, Julian, didn't you, the other day? That car.
Oh yeah,
doing?
the car. Yeah.
Hey, that's pretty shiny, man.
Yeah, it is shiny.
It's very shiny.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot shinier than I thought I would ever kind of be able to make.
In fact, it was so shiny, and you cost me money. As soon as I saw and read what you did, I went straight to B&A Hobbies and ordered some polishing compounds and some polishing cloths. But Dave, in his typical, and
You need to find something to use it on.
What? Don't worry, I will. But in typical Dave fashion, and I follow after Ian in this, you don't just buy the one or two things you want. You sort of round out and fill the basket out so you can get to the free shipping. So $150 later.
Yeah. I feel your pain. My basket's over 300 at the moment.
Oh, jeez.
You know what the really dangerous thing is? It's when you sort of you're throwing things into the basket and it's into the cart, you know, and it's only going up a little bit, and you're like, oh, I'm still like, I'm not even halfway. I'm barely halfway there.
Yeah.
And then you find something that's just so overpriced, and you're like, you throw that, and you're like, well, now I'm like $50 over the necessary amount that I needed.
Oh.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know the
yeah.
feeling.
Yeah.
I know the pain.
Yeah. You know, you've got, I've picked out all the possible paint and thinners and this and that and brushes and things I could possibly conceive of needing. Oh no, I'll just have a look in the kit section, and then you throw like a ship kit in there or something like that, and it just blows your budget out.
Well, it's funny because I did exactly the same, and I ended up buying a Take-On 1/72 scale V2 rocket that comes with the truck and the launch tower.
Oh yeah.
Oh, very cool.
So, because I've
You're
done
on a rocket streak, aren't you?
Well, I am. So I've done the rockets in their civil markings. So now I'm going to do exactly the same rockets in the military markings. So I'm going to do the V2 in that splinter camouflage, and might have to reach out to Kentucky Dave to ask him how he did his and what colours he used. And I'm going to do the Mercury in its US Army guise, and I'm going to do the Atlas in the US Air Force intercontinental ballistic guys. So that way I can compare the three against in their civil sort of clothes, which would be really cool, I think. I'm very impressed with myself. I'm very impressed.
Yes.
I'm very, I think it's very clever.
Are you going to put it again in a shadow box?
If I can find the same shadow box, because I got that one from IKEA, and going on their website, they don't look like they sell them anymore. So I don't know.
Yeah, but IKEA tend to sort of sell over sort of like, you know, off the shelf kind of stuff. I mean, it's not like they necessarily make everything themselves. I've seen their display cabinets turn up under different names at different retailers.
Yeah. Besides hobby shops, which I love walking through, IKEA would have to be my next favourite store to wander through.
Right.
I don't know why. It appeals to me.
Well, you're like going through all the cabinet sections.
I do. I go through the cabinet section.
I could fill the whole room up with these.
I go through the
You know
desk.
how many models I could fit in all them?
I know. I go through the desk section and I go, oh, geez, I could upgrade my build room with that desk and this, and it's pretty sad, really. And, you know, Michelle loves it when I said, let's go to IKEA, because I never get out of that store under about $200, I swear to God, because I take Michelle with me and that's it. She goes, oh, I need some more tea towels. I need this and that. We've got tea towels at home. Oh, yeah, but these are different. Oh.
Wow, you just pulled the old. Can we? You know, we had like there's the situation where the kids are like, oh, can we go to McDonald's? No, we've got McDonald's at home. You know.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Hey, let's get into some modelling stuff. So, what have you been building, Julian?
Just more tinkering on the cars. I went out to the garage to check the handiwork of my last gloss coat on the 300 SL Gullwing, and it somehow has lost its shine. I'm not sure. I'm just going to spray some more gloss on it, and it'll be fine.
What gloss are you using?
I'm using the Guns GX100.
You know, I can't get that. I've tried buying some, and there's nothing around locally.
Probably because people have listened to me waffling on about it and bought it all.
I think so. Because I went and checked my two usual haunts, and there's nothing there, which is a bit of a pain.
It's like a short from going to like some of the two-part clears and stuff like that. It's probably one of the better. It's probably the best modelling specific clear that I can think of.
Do you have to leave it for a while? Let it go off?
I would leave it overnight.
Yeah.
But it is a lacquer, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
so it dries fairly fast. But at the same time, this is a gloss, so
Yeah.
it's always going to take a while. And you
Yeah.
want it to take a while, otherwise it's not going to be that glossy.
True.
Yeah.
Very true.
Well, Dave, B&A's got it. I've just bought 3.
Oh, it was one of them for me?
No.
Oh,
Did I get-
what do you need 3 for, you gritty bugger?
well, spares.
Oh, my God. Can you, well,
There's plenty in stock.
you sure? Because I checked the other day and there was none there.
Well, I'm on there now, Dave.
Well, can you put another one in there for me, please?
Okay.
Actually, put 2 in there and I'll pay her.
2.
Yeah, put another 2 in.
All right.
Excellent. Thank you. This is so dangerous doing the show this way with Ian online.
So by the way, I do also have I think it's GX113, which is the flat coat version. I haven't tried it yet though.
Okay.
113. I've been using their premiums.
Yeah, so they're part of
The
the
aqueous premiums.
Yeah, so that's part of the acrylic range. The classic acrylic range. You know, the ones that have the H in front of all the codes.
Yeah.
Whereas the Super Clear 3 or GX100 as it's known is from their lacquer range, and they're in the slightly taller than average bottles.
Yeah, it
Yes.
does look like a larger bottle. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to thin it, and it obviously works hand in hand with the leveling thinners. So you get really nice, really shiny. I mean, you've seen, like, I posted up on Facebook the photo of my car. It's pretty shiny.
It's very shiny, man.
Yep.
I'm very impressed.
Okay.
I'm deeply impressed.
Yeah, I know. I can see that.
Oh,
you're
yeah,
quite
you're embarrassed by the fact I'm impressed that you've done something properly.
No, that's not it.
Ouch.
No, I'm just surprised that you've taken such an interest in something that's generally kind of outside of your modelling thing.
You know, you're right, and it's only because I've been working on these rockets that are made out of, highly polished sort of stainless steel that I've become extremely interested in really glossy subjects.
Well, you have an interest in sci-fi, right?
Yeah, but what's shiny in sci-fi?
Anything you want.
Oh, actually, no. Yeah. The lunar module, absolutely, yes.
Well, no, I mean, it doesn't have to be that. That's not really sci-fi, is it?
Well, no,
That's
it's real space. Yeah.
That's just space. But if you wanted to do a sci-fi subject, right? There are sci-fi subjects out there that could benefit from a glossy finish.
Yeah, I'm struggling because sci-fi always seems dirty to me.
It doesn't have to be though.
Yeah, I know, but it always in my mind.
Well, for example, a lot of like all the MAK type stuff. A lot of them tend to be built in a sort of like battle worn state. But they have pretty nice curves to them, and I'm bet you they'd look pretty spiffy in a nice shiny red.
Sure.
Well, some of those MAK kits are deep space suits as well.
True, and I'm always a big believer. You can always do a model kit as it's just come out of the factory fresh.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like for example, those sort of walker type things from MAK.
Yep.
Those like battle suit type things. Imagine if you sort of took the sort of more less boots on the ground out in the mud type look, and instead you went for the this is the prototype for the next generation. Look for it, and still in its white with like sort of like just a few accents of color. Much like the robots you see nowadays. Like the dog thing that Boston Dynamics.
Oh yeah.
Bright yellow or something. You could do something like that.
You could. Actually, it's funny because you shouldn't constrain yourself when it comes to sci-fi subjects unless you're doing something that's canon. But it should always. Why have I? No, hang on. It's all right. Something was prompting me on my computer. Yeah, you shouldn't. I shouldn't feel restricted, should I? But for some reason, I do. Anyway,
I remember Will Pattinson did a MAK type thing. I think it was like some like land speeder looking thing, and he did it in bright red with some chrome type stuff on it or whatever. It looked nice, but I didn't look too closely because I sort of went, if I look at this any closer, I'm going to buy one of these myself. It was one of those sort of situations.
Yeah. That's always the issue, isn't it?
But I mean, like, as far as sci-fi subjects go, I mean, I'd like to do something like that, but there's not, if you take all the Star Wars stuff out of the equation, which you can't really do in glossy finish, right? Because they're too squarish.
Yep.
But if you were to find something that is a bit more curved, I reckon you could pull off some really nice gloss coats on those, and it'd really show with all the reflections and stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'd like to do something along those lines. If you've ever seen the movie Porco Rosso, and it's got like that World War One era sort of.
No, I haven't seen the movie.
Okay,
You've never seen Porco Rosso?
No.
Well, Dave, if you're coming past my place, I'll lend you the DVD.
All right, cool.
Now I don't want to say too much.
No, don't say too much now. You're going to spoil it for me.
It's got a couple of planes in it, but a lot. It's sort of like
it's the era of the Schneider Trophy.
Yeah, that's exactly
it. That's shiny type.
So it's all they're all seaplanes.
Yep.
And they're either sort of like monoplanes barely or biplanes.
Yep.
And they're all like they're fine.
And the main character's aircraft is a really nice little red Mackie.
Yeah, a fictional
Mackie
one.
Float plane. Yeah. But it's a really nice aircraft.
And there's a model kit of it made by Fine Molds.
Yes, actually a few.
It's not a cartoon movie, is it?
It is a cartoon movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's a very well done one.
All right.
It's from the biggest of the manga houses, isn't it?
Yeah, it's basically made by the Disney of Japan. Yeah, I'm serious. It's basically their equivalent. And so the thing is, right? This plane is beautiful, and you can buy it in a model kit, and it comes in like 72nd, 48 scale. Because Fine Molds make 72nd and 48 scale kits.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't mind buying that kit and doing it in a beautiful glossy red, right?
Well, I'm quite keen to have a look at the show now.
Yeah. But my only problem is that, I've built a couple of seaplanes now, and I love seaplanes. But the problem is, as a model, you build it as a seaplane, and it just sits on like a little cart.
Yeah.
It's sort of unless you're willing to actually go to the trouble of like building a little like water base for it.
Well, you can always do what that banjo picker from Kentucky, Mike, does. He's
the acrylic rod up the arse. So is that
no?
Okay.
No. He's actually scratch building the catapult for him.
Oh yeah. Well,
he's nuts on that sort of stuff.
Yeah, see, I can get behind that. Like catapults are cool, but it's not applicable in every situation.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, not all of them were launched off catapults.
True. Very true. Ian, what have you been up to?
Ooh, working on the Tamiya Spitfire.
Holy crap! That you're destroying that thing.
It's only got a few pieces. There's not many pieces to it, and
still,
it is.
You basically said last episode or whatever that I think I'm done on this Mustang, and the next photo you publish it was
nearly a fully complete.
Yeah, it's
Spitfire.
a fully completed Spitfire. It's like, where did that come from?
Well, a lot less parts count. Is what I put it down to, and just ease of construction. Like I have never in my entire close to 50 years of modelling had a kit that went together as well as this one.
Really, that good?
It is such a great kit to build. It just brings back that term of shake and bake. Just open the box lid, pour in some glue and some paint, shake it, leave it for half an hour, open the box, it's fully done.
So is this their latest one or one of their older kits?
This is their latest one.
Right.
So it's probably about 12 months old, I'd say, but it's absolutely magnificent.
If you look at sort of the way Tamiya is going lately and you compare it to Eduard have gone the whole, we make very nice kits and we go really heavy on the rivet detail, whereas Tamiya have sort of gone, we're not going to do the rivet detail, we just want it to look clean and simple and go together easily. If you think about that from a removing seam lines perspective, you got to be a lot more careful with the Eduard kits to, stop
Yes.
yourself from removing detail. With Tamiya, you don't need to.
Yeah. Well, the hardest seam line not to have to, to try and keep and not force myself to remove was the one on the leading edge. Because with the Spitfires, there's actually a seam line that runs across the leading edge. So when you're putting your wing halves together, you automatically want to fill that seam line and make it as smooth as possible. With the Spitfire, no. You've got to leave a line in there.
So if you've nearly finished that, what's next on your bench?
Something's going to take a lot longer.
Oh, you want?
I've no idea where I'm going to put it when I finish it either.
What is it?
I'm going
Could
to
be a ship. Could be a ship.
No, I'm going to turn the old 1978 boxing of the monogram B26 Marauder into a more Edwardish looking offering.
Oh, yeah.
Rescribe, put in rivet detail.
Do you have a rivet tool?
Yeah, I've got several.
Oh,
several Rosie the riveters. I've got a big Ed set for it. So that's about, I think, 7 photo etch frets. Resin wheels, replacement resin engines, gun barrels, you name it.
You know, as soon as you start
everything possible.
As soon as you start building it, somebody's going to bring something out. You know that, don't you?
Yeah, but then again, I can. What this is I'm challenging myself.
yeah, I get you. Like you haven't done an aftermarket heavy build for a while, have you?
Correct. It's been a very long time since I've gone completely bananas and basically gutted a model kit and rebuilt it from the inside out. I've rescribed monogram kits before, plenty of times. But actually to then add the rivet detail, and because one thing the monogram kit lacks is the flight engineer's position.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll have to be scratch building the whole of that.
So with the scratch building, are there some sort of things you want to try out, things that you haven't done before?
Oh, yeah, like actually building seats and so forth. And interior components.
And what was the scale?
It's going to be an adventure.
What was
148 scale.
148, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But the fun bit is going to be finding little areas to hide all the shotgun pellets so I can keep the tricycle nose gear down.
Yeah.
Oh, geez, that doesn't sound like fun at all.
Oh, I've done it. I did it with the Mitchell. You can find, if you use shotgun pellets, it's small, heavy, and they go into all little nooks and crannies.
You know, another place that people don't often look at is the engine nacelles. You can put it in the front, forward
exactly.
just forward of the undercarriage.
Basically, what I try and do is put as much weight forward of the rear wheels.
Are you going to have to then look at getting some new undercarriage rather than plastic ones?
I don't think that's...
Nah, you don't need to.
You don't need to?
I've done it with a few aircraft with tricycle undercarriage, and look, unless you're bouncing the thing around, it's safe as houses. You've got to have seriously overweigh it and have something like a. The only one I'd probably do that one would be a tiger when I finally build my Tiger Cat.
Yeah,
because that's got that really long, thin front nose undercarriage.
Yeah.
But with something like Marauder front nose undercarriage is pretty stocky anyway. So it should be able to
also, you have
weight.
to think about like how would you replace it? Because if you're just buying aftermarket replacements, white metal's not that strong. It bends.
No, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
look,
like
worst case scenario is I just drill a hole through the center of it and pipe in a bit of wire.
Yeah.
That will strengthen it up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's some tricky stuff though.
Oh yeah, I've done it before. I did it with an F-15.
Well, I mean, like if you were gonna go to that level of trouble, would you cut off the oleo and replace that with an aluminium tube, so it looks really nice?
I'd have to have a look at it. If the molding's really good, I won't. I'll just use my Molotow.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just apply the Molotow with a brush. If you use a small brush and use a dabbing motion, you may as well spray the Molotov on.
Yeah, yeah,
It just can't, and when it dries, well, you've got automatically got your chrome strut.
yeah, yeah.
I recently saw someone who used the metal foil for the oleo.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
saw that too somewhere. Yeah, I was quite impressed with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked good.
And so, obviously the downside is it results in like a seam line when
Yeah.
you've wrapped it around, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're clever enough, you can hide it. You can have it face the side where the fairings are, the covers for the wheel landing strut.
Yep.
And if not that, you can always hide it sort of in where the scissor links are, so it's less obvious.
Yes. Yeah. Because that'll help hide it.
And trust me, that makes a very, very, very convincing look. Because sometimes they're not that, chromy looking. They're just a little bit, they're shiny, but they're not, because it's like almost like...
Yeah, it's like you have a look at the front forks of a motorcycle. Yeah, it's that kind of shine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So smooth and shiny and almost polished, but
Yeah.
not chrome.
Not chrome. But everything's always a bit of in modelling. Everything's a bit of give and take, isn't it? Really.
I mean, I think chroming the oleos became popular because it's hard to achieve a chrome finish. So if you fall short, you end up roughly where you should be for an oleo.
Exactly.
Cool. Should we have a look at some listener mail?
Just before that, I would like to express how I would like to express how disappointed I am that there's still no aftermarket photo etch sets for that Italian ship I bought.
Oh, I guess right, because you and Ian both bought it, didn't you?
That's right. I want to build that thing, and there's still nothing.
So the kit didn't. The kit only came with basic photo etch.
It's got some like railings and things like that, but I want like something more comprehensive,
like the barrels, and you want the proper railings for it.
Yeah, I mean, what's the point of building a ship if you're going all the way, right?
Well, maybe you should have chosen a kit that's already got photo etch available for it.
Yeah, but none of those are kits that I necessarily want. I want this one. That's why I bought it.
You know what? Unless you are a real complete bonkers rivet counter, most people aren't going to be able to tell the difference in railings on a 1/350
I'm not building
scale.
it for them. I'm building it for me.
I know, but you hear what I'm saying? So you can get away with other
I'm not
railings.
even asking for that much. I just want something a bit more more detailed than the plastic.
Yeah, because you're going to want to replace all the antennas and all that sort of stuff as well. Did it have radar? They didn't have radar, the Italian warships. No, I don't think they did. Did they, Ian?
I'll grab my kit and have a look.
Probably not.
I don't think they did.
Remember, this set of ships, this ship and all of its sister ships all died in one battle.
In one glorious battle in the Mediterranean.
So I'm pretty sure that if that happened, they were probably
I
under-equipped.
can't see any radars on this thing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Italian Navy didn't have radar by that stage of the war.
No. Well, they lost all these cruisers basically in one battle.
Yeah, that's what Julian was just saying. Yeah, one glorious battle. Boom. See you later.
Yep. All done and dusted.
That doesn't worry. It doesn't discourage me from building a subject.
No, it's still a pretty looking ship.
Oh, it's a gorgeous looking. The Italian ships are always gorgeous looking.
Yes, very fast, but very, very lightly armored.
Yeah, such is life.
Yep.
All right, shall we get into listener mail?
Yes.
What do you reckon?
Yeah, why not?
All right. First one comes from Dee Dee, who's just recently become one of our Patreon supporters.
Thank you.
And she says, congrats, guys. Looking like things are improving in Victoria. Hopefully, you'll all be back in the studio soon. Well, we're kind of halfway there. So, got Julian here.
Yes.
And she's got a topic for discussion that we can perhaps look at picking up later, but I'll just mention it now because it's quite an interesting one. If you had a chance to model strange or weird kit, what would it be? For example, Bob Semple tank from New Zealand, or the Tsar tank from Westland, or the Westland Lysander Delane P12. What would you do?
Westland pterodactyl.
Is that an aircraft, is it?
Yep.
Well, yeah.
Google it.
Oh, really?
Well,
Google it.
Well, that's the thing, right? I mean, the subject of this discussion is about weird kit, right? And if it's weird, then no one else is going to know about it.
Actually, I read it, and she piqued my interest when she said the Tsar tank, because that'd be awesome. to
Yeah,
own
that
that.
was that big
Yeah.
three-wheeled thing.
Yeah, it was a monster. It looks.
Yeah.
It looks very
You know what it looks
steampunk.
like? It looks like
Yeah, you know what ended up happening? It
What?
got stuck and they couldn't pull it out, so they left it there.
it looks like a 2 or 3 story kids tricycle.
Yes. Yes.
I could definitely go. Yeah, that'd be one of mine. I'd choose.
Also, she mentioned the Bob Simple tank.
Yeah.
Or whatever
Bob
it is.
Simple, yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that little tiny thing that's made out of corrugated iron?
I don't know.
You know, like literal roofing iron. It's like some really crummy. It's considered like the worst tank ever created.
Yes, no, I've just Googled it, and Julian is correct. It looks like it's made out of corrugated iron sheeting.
Well, they've got plenty of that in New Zealand, haven't they? Corrugated iron, that and sheep. I've just offended all of our Kiwi listeners by saying that.
Oh,
Actually, it would be a kit I would build. Is that weird and unusual? I would probably build it.
it looks like a.
There you go, Dita. You
an
get it
outhouse.
happening, I'll build one.
It looks like an outhouse, like an outdoor toilet that's mounted on tracks. Is what it looks
But
like.
it's got a lot of machine guns on it.
Or a garden shed. It looks like the shed that you keep, a couple of your shovels and other garden implements in. But mounted on tracks.
Thanks for that, DD. Joe Middleton writes in and says, "Hi, benchers. Just a quick one for the lad in Scotland who was asking about the 1 to 1200 ships. Airfix did, or they do, some sets, including an excellent set called Sink the Bismarck, which has most of the capital ships that were involved in that action. So keep up the awesome show, Joel. I'd forgotten about the Airfix a lot. I remember they did do that too, so it was really cool." Steve Bolton writes in, he was listening to our Second Tools episode and we were talking about small and expensive drill bits for making holes. He's suggesting we actually take a look on eBay for 3D printer nozzle cleaners. And he says you'll find some cheap, about $8 delivered, some cheap tiny diameter bits for cutting out plastic clogs in filament type 3D printers. The nozzles are around 0.4 millimeters typically, and the sets come with 10 bits in various sizes above and below that diameter. So he's recommending that for $8 or more, why not have a look at them rather than spending the big dollars on tungsten tips that tend to break. And if these steel ones break, well, what the heck, they only cost $8 anyway. That's a really
well,
good
if you're just
idea.
drilling through plastic.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to have a look at that.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for that.
Dave Waples writes in, and he's just reminding us that in the last podcast that on What's New, we missed that DAS work kits are announcing a World War I submarine, but we'll talk about that later on.
Hey, what?
Yeah, wait.
What scale?
1/72. But we'll talk more about that during What's New. So thanks for that, David, for writing in. Let's see. George Krause writes in. He says, "Cheers from Sydney. My name's George. I've recently discovered your podcast. Been having a blast listening to it. After about 5 months ago, I came back to the hobby after a hiatus of... Oh, hang on. I'm just looking at Julian. He's just broken my Spitfire.
What?
I've got a little, that little Spitfire I've got in here, which is the Airfix one you just snap together, and he's broken the prop off it. You're gonna have to take off the top of the engine cover to get to the to fix the prop.
Yeah, because it's got like a little sort of retaining thing that slips on the back end of the prop.
Yep.
Oh, that's easy fix. This thing looks like it's made out of Lego.
It kind of is. This Airfix sort of snap together stuff, which is designed for little kids.
Yeah. So why'd you buy it?
I bought it for their grandson and to build, and Oh God, he's dropped it to the carpet monster. Oh, I can't look. I bought it for the grandson, and he sort of built it and lost interest. Well,
Really?
I helped him build it, and he lost interest.
That's why he lost interest, because you helped him.
No, I said, here's his stuff, and 6 years old, and he's more interested in computer games than he is in modelling. I'm going to have to...
Well, aren't they all at that age?
Oh, no, I'm going to have to... Well, I don't know. Anyway, sorry, George writes in. 5 months ago, I came back to the hobby after a 7-year hiatus, and I'm having the time of my life. I like building anything, but have a greater interest in World War II aircraft and ships. And he said that he's just finished the Edward Spitfire 172nd and also the Tamiya Mozzie, which is also 172nd, I think he's saying. And he's currently building the Airfix 172nd scale Lancaster, and let's just say the experience hasn't been good.
Oh.
So,
Well, I was about to say...
hang on.
I was about to say, those are two very good kits. And then you mentioned the FX one. I'm like, well, that... I don't know anything specifically about that kit, but I imagine that's probably quite a step down.
Well, he goes on. So my question is, what do you guys think on Airfix? I'm the kind of modeler that prefers to spend my time adding detail or trying to do the best paint and weathering job rather than wasting my efforts on fixing the manufacturer's awful fit. How on earth does Airfix get away with charging $76 for a kit that is this bad, whereas you can get an Edward profile pack in 148 scale for less than $50? Nowadays, you can get some fantastically detailed kits from Eastern Europe or China for much less than what Airfix charge. Just saying, are they relying on nostalgia or what?
Well, as far as price goes, it changes depending on where you live in this world, right? If you live near Asia, then those kits are going to be cheaper for you than... Well, they're going to be cheaper for you than stuff from Europe. But if you live in Europe, then obviously you can get things, from Edward and for really cheap. Airfix are kind of behind the times on their engineering. I don't think that's a controversial statement, though some people might.
Well, I don't know, because I haven't looked at their latest great big 132nd scale stuff like Ian bought the Hellcat, so I can't really comment. I think.
Yeah.
Well,
Look, I totally agree that some of the stuff is way overpriced garbage. Absolutely. And I can testify that because I've still got that freaking Canberra bomber sitting on the shelf of doom that I'll probably never touch again because it disgusts me that much.
It's pretty extreme for you to admit that. Generally, you're I'm not going to let this beat me.
Oh, I'm just disgusted with it. Absolutely disgusted with the thing.
Yeah.
It's funny. I've got such a nostalgic soft spot for Airfix because that was sort of the manufacturer of choice when I was, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 and building kits.
Yeah, that's how Airfix still make their money today.
Well, probably is. But I go back now and have a look at the Airfix kits and some I've got like their Lightning and a couple of other ones that are knocking around in my stash there. And the soft plastic sort of drives me nuts. And yeah, I don't know. I've got a real love-hate relationship with Airfix. I really do.
Well, see, I didn't have any love to begin with, so I've only got the
Right.
hate.
You were the generation that sort of missed out on that early time. Yeah.
Well, see, the thing is, right? I grew up building 48 scale monogram kits because that was what was available at Kmart when I was around the age of 10, 12 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And it was just sort of like, okay, just a whole like wall of 48 scale monogram kits, and I'm like, oh, I'll buy that one. I want to build that one, and I want one of those. And
Yeah.
And it sort of really sort of shaped how I've approached modeling now because it's sort of like 48 scale.
Mm.
That seems like the right scale because it's what I've always built in, And then on top of that, because monogram didn't really have any German aircraft. When I first got back into the hobby, I wanted to build a couple of German aircraft because I never got the chance to. I never had a 109 and I never had a Focke-Wulf.
So if you lost your virginity to 1/48 scale, when you then look at 1/72 scale and scale smaller, do they look odd to you or weird?
Yeah, they look like sort of like the toys. They don't look like models unless you get a very, very, very good one. Because, as things get smaller, things get overscale to remain strong enough to not be flimsy as hell.
Oh, Kentucky Dave is spitting into his ryegrass whiskey because he says 72nd scale is God's true scale.
Look, I'm not saying I'm not saying it can't.
It's 72nd is more known as the gentleman's scale.
Well, because they're all older guys who tend to stick to it.
No, gentlemen and such people like myself.
Gentlemen, you're a gentleman, are you?
Yeah,
Okay.
I qualify as a gentleman. I can pass as a gentleman.
All right. Yeah, no comment.
You try.
Although Ian's less of a gentleman than you are.
If I was living
Of course I am. I totally agree.
If I lived in the UK, I'd probably only shop on Savile Road for my suits.
Yeah, the way you present it, it's almost like you stroll around in public with your monocle and top hat and
I'd love it. I'd love
Look
a bowler.
down at the people.
I'd love a bowler hat and walk around in that. I reckon it'd be
check
awesome.
your pocket watch and.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool.
All right, let's get off
So-
your fantasy. Back on Airfix. Back on Airfix. My problem with their engineering. I mean, let's put aside the soft plastic and the trench panel lines. They're very antiquated in the way that they make their kits go together. They sort of they stay the course on the way all the kits go together, going all the way back through to the 1980s and 1960s.
Since the dawn of time, they've unchanged the way they do
Whereas
it.
if you look at the way Tamiya will build kits nowadays, they'll actually design them in such a way that seam lines will run down certain panel lines and things like that. They go, well, what? Let's put aside the way that kits have always gone. How can we design a better way to do that?
So the
Yes.
Tamiya kits are designed by somebody from a modeller's point of view, whereas the Airfix kits are designed from a toolmaker's point of view.
More like a traditionalist point of view.
Yeah,
That's
when
how
I
I
say toolmaker, I mean
I
somebody who
agree
makes
with Julian,
molds.
traditionalist. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like they know that their demographic isn't, sort of people like younger generation sort of modelers. They know that their market is more older modelers who don't like newfangled ways of doing things. They want
Exactly.
They want their 72nd scale kits. They want their enamel paint, right?
With paintbrushes.
With hairy sticks.
Look, and look,
And there's nothing wrong with that.
no, there isn't anything.
Exactly. They're still getting enjoyment out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's money to be made there.
Yeah.
And they are a business.
Yeah.
And if they can make money catering to that niche, then more power to them. But I don't have to like their products because I'm not that demographic.
Yep.
I want something more.
So back to George. I guess it comes down to you've learnt a valuable lesson as to where perhaps you're going to look for your next model kit.
Yeah. I mean, his problem is that he's
Always
eaten
check
two
online
juicy
reviews.
steaks and then someone served him a haggis or something.
But there's not. But there's not too many people.
No, not haggis. No, not Julian, not haggis. It's that fermented fish you get in Norway.
Oh, the surströmming.
Yeah, that's the stuff.
But the problem is there's not too many kit manufacturers that do a Lancaster or a Halifax or a Sterling or even a Wellington for that matter in 1/72 scale.
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
So
as
you're pretty well stuffed. You've got to go, well, I've got to go and purchase from Airfix.
As long as Airfix are still around, you're going to find that those, even if Airfix went bankrupt today, you'd
Well,
still...
Hasegawa makes a 72nd scale Lancaster.
Okay.
No, it's hard to get, isn't it?
I don't see why it should be.
Also, depending on how old it is, it may not be that much better, really. But in any case, this is just the reality of modeling. sometimes you just don't have access to a really nice kit. Sometimes you're just
Yep.
going to have to, if you want that subject, you're going to have to deal with whatever's available.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Thus, I'm building a really old 1978 Marauder next.
Oh, jeez. All right, guys, how about we have a quick break to listen to from one of our sponsors, and we'll be back to have a look at what's new in the modelling world.
Excellent. I'm going to have a smoke break and make a cup of tea.
Oh, hang on, I've got to cut that out now because I haven't hit stop. Fine Scale Modeller is the world's most recognised and essential magazine for modellers and is available in all good newsagents and newsstands or wherever you purchase your magazines. Alternatively, go to their website www.finescale.com and subscribe to either a print edition or their digital edition. Go now. Go to www.finescale.com. Okay, and we're back from our very short break. Ian's got his coffee. I've got mine. Julian's got his. I've had a cigarette, so we're ready to go.
Rock and roll.
So, Ian, you were telling us about how you've heavily loaded your little cart.
Your shopping cart.
Yeah. While we were chatting, I decided to buy myself the Thunder Models British Scammell recovery vehicle with a lot of extras.
It's a cool vehicle.
It's a cool looking vehicle, those Scammels. They just look so mean.
Yeah, so it really sort of has that sort of military truck look to it. You know, like it's really big, robust.
Yep.
With a bit of an slightly old-timey looking cab to it.
Old-timey.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, because it's got like for example, where the engine is, it's sort of inboard, and you got like fenders that just go straight up and over the wheels and stuff. You know, it's old-timey looking.
Yeah, it is.
But it really looks like the like a workhorse. You know.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like the mechanical version of like a Clydesdale or something. Like a draft horse, you know?
Yeah, it's got like a shortish looking wheelbase, and it just looks mean. Chunky and mean. Like there's nothing it couldn't tackle.
Yeah. It's a surprisingly large kit.
Oh, I bet it is, yeah.
You know, I mean, like it's you know, you look at a lot of those sort of military truck model kits, and it's easy to think that they're all roughly the same size, shape, and appearance. But you know, some of them are civilian designed and adapted to military use, and some of them are specifically designed for military use, and they're made for pulling tanks.
Yes.
There's not much, commonality as far as size go.
Yeah. And I reckon after the war, those things would have been sought after by many a farmer and construction company.
Well, that's what happened to a lot of Australian armour after the Second World War. It was sold off to farmers and used for land clearing.
Yeah.
And even today as we speak, you can still go to some farms and still see an old Matilda hull or an old Stuart hull sitting around.
Yep.
Yeah, but as time went by, like a lot of these sort of military vehicles that are wheeled went and got scrapped because they're really limited. They're all about strength and torque and pulling things, but they don't have very high top speeds. And as top speeds on vehicles got higher, it's just sort of like, well, what am I going to do with a truck that can do a max speed of, 70 kilometers an hour or something?
Yeah.
Because extreme gearing, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, modelling news. Takeom have announced they're doing a pattern tank with a Jeep, and that's going to be in 1/35th scale. So an M46 pattern and a quarter-ton utility truck, i.e. a Jeep.
Yeah.
I think the armour guys are crying out for a new M46 pattern tank, so this is really going to fit the bill. Looks like a great little kit. God, they were using so many war movies too, weren't they? So you could have a lot of fun and sort of... they were used as German tanks a lot in some of the war movies done out of Hollywood. So you could have a lot of fun with these tanks.
You know, I'm quite liking this boxing, how it's got the little Jeep attached to it.
Yeah.
Because you often, like, I don't think modelers actually buy models of Jeeps very often. They're cool. They're an interesting enough subject, but not interesting enough that you would go out of your way to buy one unless you were building a diorama.
Very
But
true.
it's a nice small size thing that you could just throw that into the kit of an armor vehicle like a Patton, and people will go, well, I'll take a Jeep.
And gee, the Patton even saw service in the first Gulf War with the US Marines. So
Correct,
it was
yes.
a long-serving tank, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Great little kit. Also, they've announced in 1/72nd scale they're going to be doing the Bruno turret, the B turret from German battleship Bismarck. Turret B. Photo etches included. 5 markings included in the box. I don't get how you could have 5 markings. I don't understand that.
Probably for the 5 different tours, maybe.
Yeah. Possibly.
Or you could have some like maybe markings like for war games. And
Well,
so forth.
it's TACM, so the chances are it's like there's 2 different real schemes and then 3, three schemes by Mig Jimenez, and they're all, his creative designs that are never existed in real life.
For the naval modeler, these are starting to be quite popular, just having the turrets as a kit in 1/72nd scale, and we're seeing a lot of these sort of popping up now. So I think it's quite interesting, actually.
Yeah.
I could be tempted.
Yeah, right. Yeah, for a conversation piece.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just wish it was like the turret off a more interesting looking ship, Like, I mean,
Bismarck's not interesting enough.
Well,
now?
I mean, like, I get the Bismarck because the Bismarck is famous, right? But I mean, there are some quirky, weird-looking turrets out there on various ships, and I would like to see some of those.
I'm pretty sure
maybe other people, people who actually buy these things, might not be interested in them, so it's probably not a good idea for them to do them.
I'm just trying to think. There's a kit manufacturer did the turret for the Yamato, and it did the barbette and all the internals of the turret as well.
That's kind of cool.
I'm just trying to think which company did that, and I could have been quite tempted in getting that one as well. Don't know why I haven't bought it yet.
There's no limit to the number of things you can buy.
We're looking now at Miniart. They get a preview of their 35th scale M3 Lee mid-production, where it comes with interior. The trouble with Miniart, and they're great kits, but geez, they're complicated with all the additional parts and stuff they chuck on them. So
You're guaranteed to get an accurate kit, though.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's no two ways about that.
So this kit of the M3 Lee has a lot of the yellow markings on US military vehicles.
Yeah,
that's North Africa, is it not?
Yeah,
correct.
it is.
Yeah.
Also
Route
comes
43.
with workable track links. Comes with the Continental R975 engine, detailed engine compartment, accurately represented interior of the turrets also included. Fully detailed fighting compartment interior, driver compartment interior accurately represented. All hatches can be posed, open and closed. And there's some clear parts that are included as well.
I had a discussion.
Yeah, that'd be for your vision slits.
I had a discussion with someone on Facebook the other day about these interior kits, full interior kits. I think most people have sort of hot on the idea until they actually build one, and then they're going like, "Yeah, you know what? I'd rather build one that doesn't have a full interior."
But then again, with the Lee, that's a kit that you could put a full interior in because you got those big side doors that can open.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of like openings with which you can see in. It's better off for that than most.
Otherwise, you just got to try and peek in through the commander's hatch.
Yeah,
you're not going to see much at all.
The classic thing where you have to pick up the model and then rotate it around just to side, catch the light in there while looking through these little tiny things.
Yeah.
Still, it's an interesting subject, and
also people tend to think, it's got a full interior kit. You know what I'll do? I'll make a diorama of it blown open.
No, that doesn't.
And then
work.
they never do it.
Yeah,
they either never do it, or they never do it in such a convincing fashion that it actually looks right.
I'm on a bit of a tank thing. I'm actually building a T-34 at the moment from Rifle Models. I'm part of a build group on Facebook. And, it's really whetting my appetite to sort of perhaps get into some more armour kits as well. So I'm looking at this thinking, I could almost pull the trigger on this, but the interior side of it bothers me. I'm not one. See, because I don't like doing figures.
You'd be surprised how much of it is just white.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. But you got to weather it though. Yeah, well, it's not too hard, I guess. But
So you got some detail painting. It's mostly white, but because you got to pay attention to how it goes together. You tend to focus on, okay, well, how do I paint the inside of it without painting the outside of it white as well, partially. So you got to mask some things off, maybe take some precautions and shoot from some weird angles, and then you got to glue it together in such a way that when you look in through there, you don't see like glue, dripping down the corners of the walls.
And the interior's a dirty white too, it wasn't a pristine white.
Well, every white ends up a dirty white if you have people tromping their muddy boots through it.
True.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you got like all the burnt what's it, cordite or whatever it is from whenever they fire the gun.
Yeah.
Because it's not like they had fume extractors and things in those days. It all just vented out the back.
Masterbox have announced December 2020 post-apocalypto novelties, which are basically some figures. And these are in... what scale are they in?
Be 135th.
Yeah. Some interesting ones here. Yeah, you're right, Ian. 135th. There's one there of a woman walking with a German Shepherd or an Alsatian dog, depending which part of the world you come from. There's another one.
Actually, she's not a woman. She's a young girl.
Well, okay, young girl then. All right, Julian. The one that I find interesting is the kit number 35216, which is called a New Religion Pastor. This is of a guy, and the rifle he's got looks like a 50 cal sniper's rifle, and it looks just awesome because he's sort of sticky taped a bayonet on the end of it. It looks really good. And he's got some sort of really weird looking dog next to him. I don't even know what sort of dog that is.
Yeah, one of them shaggy, long-haired dogs.
Yeah.
It looks like a Labradoodle.
It does a little bit, but or what's it called? The Italian sheepdog.
The actual face of this guy with the cowboy hat on and the big sort of white beard. It kind of looks like that one actor you often see in like every in a lot of westerns.
Oh no! Michelle actually gets all gushy over him. I know the guy you're talking about.
The guy that looks like the Marlboro Man or whatever.
Yeah. Whenever he comes on TV, Michelle goes all weak at the knees. What's the name of the guy?
I don't know the name. He was in. He played the other Ron character, the hippie Ron in Parks and Recreation.
Oh no, the one I'm thinking of. He was in The Big Lebowski. He narrated the dude.
Oh,
what's his name?
Oh, Jeff Bridges.
No, not Jeff Bridges. The guy who was sort of sitting at the bowling alley bar and talking about the dude.
It's been a long time since I saw that movie, man.
The name will come to me later on.
It doesn't matter. Anyway, let's keep rolling on.
Hobby Boss have announced new releases for November. They're doing a German 7-ton multiple rocket launcher in 1/35th scale.
It's a modern German version of the rocket truck.
Well, this is the German version of the Mylars, which they ended up scrapping and actually then purchasing the Mylars, which was the American production version of it. If you like your modern sort of stuff, that looks pretty cool. Got 4 different photo etch sheets with it as well.
That's 3, isn't it?
Sorry, 3, I beg your pardon. 11 sprues, 480 parts.
Looks decent.
Yeah. If you enjoy doing your sort of NATO trucks and stuff.
It's one of those ones where it's like a subject that probably not too many people care about, but it got a lot of attention and care by the design team.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, these companies wouldn't produce this stuff if it didn't make money, would they? So
well, it's Trumpeter, right? They just make a kit of every possible thing known to man.
They're doing also a Chinese Type 59-1 medium tank in 1/35th scale. So this was the one that was based upon the T-54, I believe. And then the Chinese did their copy of it and did their changes with it. So if you like your sort of Russian and Chinese armour, this is definitely going to be up your alley. Individual link tracks, woohoo, which is always a good thing. And a nice big photo etch part sheet is also included. Now, Mung have announced, and you were onto this the other day, Julian, they've announced their 12th scale Ford GT40 Mark II 1966 Le Mans 24 hour. And Ian is sitting there, he's got tears rolling down his eyes.
Oh, yes. How lovely is it?
It's supposedly got a very expensive price tag on it, though.
Does it really? How much were we talking?
I think from memory it was something like if you get it shipped from Lucky Model, which is a place where you'll often see a lot of the Meng kits first appear for sale. I think it's like $370 or something like that.
I reckon they're onto a winner with this because this is sort of on the back of the movie Ford versus Ferrari, which
That's kind of true.
a sensational movie. This is really going to go down a treat.
So they've released images of the sprues and some sort of mock-ups of like the bodywork and everything like that, with some of the sprues still attached through the middle of where the windscreen is. So obviously they've done that so that they can mold those really skinny A-pillars.
That's right. Yeah, otherwise they'll crush.
Yeah, I mean, I had similar sort of moldings with some of the car kits I've been working on lately, especially from Tamiya. They take their care with these sort of things.
Interestingly, the kit comes with some pre-chrome parts that some will like and some won't, such as rocket covers, engine parts, wheel parts, and even the rear view mirror is chromed, ready to drop in.
Some wing mirrors, what are those? There's got to be like the little the
knockoff
knockoffs,
hubs.
Yeah, knockoff hubs. Just some.
Yeah,
small
anything's going to
accents.
have chrome. Yeah, everything's going to have chrome on it. Will be chromed.
Yeah, that looks really good too.
Mm.
Really convinced. Oh man, they've even got one of the chromed parts is the actual what do you call it?
The lock nut for the wheel.
No, the airline for the tire.
Yeah. The air valve.
Yes,
Valve.
yes.
Valve, yes. Valve is the word I was looking for. Decal sheets that have lines that run down the middle of the tires on the sidewalls.
Yep.
It's pretty comprehensive.
Yeah. And the markings for Ken Miles. And the other one for Bruce McLaren.
Ian, you going to get this?
Definitely.
You know, I could almost sit and watch that movie again. I enjoyed the movies that much. It was really good.
So the price has turned a lot of people off it, and obviously there's the naysayers who are like, "Oh, I don't know why they couldn't make it in the scale that I wanted it in."
12th scale. That's going to be a huge scale. It's going to be, and the detail they're packing into it. So it's fully posable open. Obviously, the back pops up so you can see the engine, fully expose the engine. Doors both pop open. The front hood pops up so you can see the spare tire in the front. It just looks gorgeous.
Yeah, I mean, it's the kind of detail you would expect of a model this size. Like if you don't build a model in 12th scale unless you want it to be like a centerpiece.
Correct.
Ian, why don't you scrap that crappy aircraft you're going to build and just buy this and build this?
What crappy aircraft?
The one you're going to do, the monogram one.
Well, this isn't even out yet.
Oh.
Apples and oranges.
Yeah.
Just
and I
relax.
want to do me Marauder.
All right.
Patience, it'll come out. I'll get it.
Okay. There's a book coming out from the diorama artist Hank Cheng called the Hank Cheng Collection, which is out soon. Apparently, Hank Cheng is a master at doing dioramas.
Yes. A lot of his stuff's civil, like cafes and restaurants and houses and so forth.
Yeah.
Street scenes.
Yeah, so a lot of his stuff seems to be sort of along the lines of our friend Mr. Hurrigan.
Yeah, Dave.
Yes, Dave Hurrigan.
Yeah, yep.
I think this guy has maybe a bit more of a focus towards indoor settings.
I know. I was looking at Dave Hurrigan's latest work where he's doing a cafe, and it was on Facebook the other day. And oh, geez, just gobsmackingly gorgeous.
Yeah.
The detail is getting in there.
Yeah.
And it's all scratch built. That's what makes me so jealous.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like if you're going to go into the civilian side of things, like almost everything you're going to have to scratch build for dioramas.
So this book is 192 pages full of colour photos, and it's got dual English and Chinese languages. Explains, shows all of his finest recent work and explains a lot about the scene and the process as well as the meaning behind the actual models and dioramas themselves.
Yeah, these are top-notch dioramas.
So this is what
yeah.
you call a master model maker, and if dioramas are your thing, I'm sure you're going to get a lot out of this. So the next one, which is going to get Ian very excited, is from Das Works, the U-boat SMU-9 in 1/72nd scale, which was a World War I petroleum/electric U-boat.
This is not a small kit.
Well, you know, the U-boats, German U-boats weren't that large, so...
Yeah, German U-boats always, and especially the First World War, they're pretty small.
So the length of this is 804 millimeters. The beam's 83 millimeters, and the height is 150 millimeters.
So it's getting near.
Hang on, the beam's only, 3 millimeters?
No, 83. 83.
Yeah, I was going to say.
The part count's only 164. Fun fact, there are approximately 7,000 rivets on the kit. This is certainly going to be an interesting kit, and the CAD drawings that I'm looking at, it looks beautifully detailed, and because it's in 1/72nd scale, you can really get into the details with the rivets. So it's going to be an amazing kit for those of you who find this as a subject particularly interesting.
I really like it. It's not my scale, but that may not stop me.
Well, we'd have to see what the price point is first of all. No, that wouldn't stop Ian anyway.
I would expect this to have a fairly sort of premium price tag, actually.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be a very cheap kit. It's
Just
also,
looking at the raised rivet detail is really spectacular on it.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. It may have like a price tag very much worthy of its level of quality. But this is a lot bigger than the kits that the Das Work normally make.
Yeah, it is. It's a bit of a surprise out of Das Work. It came out of nowhere and suddenly, bang, one great big sort of 1/72nd scale subject.
I mean, I know that their thing is German stuff, but usually it's German armour, right?
Well, German armour and other weird German things as well. So it's... Ian, would you look at doing... would you have to do the oil canning effect on the hull?
I don't think you would want to. This is the one kit that, even if you were into that sort of thing, you couldn't do it to this kit because otherwise you'd have to replace all those rivets, and what would be the point?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it'd be way too big a job. Way too big a job. I do notice they've done really nicely on the canvas that goes over the rails. You can get like the open rails, or you can get the rails with the canvas, and the way they've portrayed the canvas is really nice.
Yeah, I have to agree. That is very nicely designed.
So this kit can be built in either U9, U10, U11 or U12 and comes with a decal, so you can do that.
And positionable smokestack. Because the smokestacks could go up or down depending if it was running on the diesels or running on electric.
Running on the petrol.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't diesel, it was petrol.
Petrol then.
Yeah.
And this is what I like. It's the it's got like the black hull down below the... You know, like if it's cruising along the surface, it's black down the bottom, and then it's like the grey on top. I mean, I'm always I don't know that much about U-boats, but most of my impression of U-boats is like, oh yeah, they're those German boats, those German submarines that are all over grey or whatever.
No, majority of them were black at the bottom.
Anti-fouling black, yeah. Very cool. Das is good, yeah?
Das is good.
What?
Das is good.
Isn't das just the in German?
No.
The is good?
Das is good.
Das.
Okay.
Hey, listen, German isn't your second language, is it, Julian? So step away from the mic.
Yeah, but das is just the in German, right?
It's an old saying, das is good, yeah?
Okay, whatever. I'll take your word for it. I'm not going to question you. If you sound like a muppet, then that's on you.
Well, Ian's agreeing with me, so we're both muppets in that point.
I've heard that term so many times. Das ist gut, ja.
Jawohl.
Okay.
Okay, the Falcon's written in. And first of all, he's got some business news. And he says, I'm not sure this will please Ian a whole lot, but Hornby, owners of Airfix brand, have surprised the business world by announcing they have returned to profitability after nearly 10 years of losses. They will post a £200,000 profit for the 6 months to September, following losses of £2.6 million for the same period last year.
Wow.
Sales have increased by 33% in the last 6 months as bored people in lockdown sought solace in hobbies. And this is right across the entire range of Hornby. It's not just the Airfix brand, which have also been selling quite well in recent times, but also even the trains have taken off in a big way. Even their paints. Those terrible paints that we all used to use back in the 1970s.
Oh, the enamels.
The enamels. They've even fired up. So it just goes to show how, I mean, and anecdotally, we're hearing this, right across the entire sector. That,
that's the thing, right? I mean, if Hornby, who own Airfix, right, if they're posting a 33% increase, imagine how much money Tammy is making.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So anecdotally, I mean, even I've been talking to a couple of local owners of hobby stores, and they've been doing a roaring trade during lockdown, where people have been ordering stuff in, and they've been, what are you laughing at me for?
Well, I mean, like people, the way I sort of look at it is like, well, Airfix have finally turned, Hornby have finally turned a profit, and all it took was for a global pandemic to force everyone to stay indoors, It's all like, here's the gun to your head, now build a model.
Yeah, that's very funny, Julian. All right, what else is the... What else?
Build a model or else.
I mean, there's only so many Netflix shows you can watch, isn't there?
That's true.
Okay, aircraft. The Falcon writes in, Zvezda have shown final renders for their 1/144th scale Airbus A320neo. Zvezda are saying it'll be released in 2020, which is only a couple of months left, so they better pull their finger out. Bronco Hobbies have added a 148 scale MiG-15 to their lineup. It is available now if you visit the Military Museum of the People's Revolution. And there is a limited commemorative PLAAF Korean War boxing that is also only available at that museum. Fear not! A standard boxing will be available to the mass market soonish. At the time of writing, it wasn't clear if this is a new Bronco tooling or just simply a repop of another company's kit, but some people are saying it is probably a new tool from Bronco. Models Fit have announced that they have downscaled their 148 scale Fokker G1A Reaper to 172nd scale. They have already shown sprues, so it shouldn't be too far away. Question mark, has Ian bought one of the 48 scale Reapers yet? Surely he has to, as it's proper Dutch aircraft.
No, I haven't.
Oh, there you go. The Falcon is very disappointed in you, Ian.
I'll bet.
Speaking of downscaling, Dora Wings are working on a 172nd scale kit of their P43 Lancer.
Ooh.
Funnily enough, Julian actually brought one into the studio this morning.
Yeah, I mentioned it on a couple of episodes ago that I bought this thing.
This is a 48 scale though.
This one's 48 scale, yeah. Is this one 72nd, is it?
Yeah, the scale down to 172nd.
Oh, yeah.
Funny, I was having a look at the sprue gates, and the way they've done it is really weird.
Yeah. So, like, if you look like at the lower wing,
yeah,
which is one piece, right?
Yeah,
there's like 20 sprue gates that go all the way around it.
Oh, it's weird.
Well, they really don't want warpage.
Maybe that's the only way they can get around it.
Well, it's funny you mention that. There's a little bit in it where the runner doesn't go all the way around.
But what, short shot? Is it a short shot?
No, it's just a slight warpage at the very tail end of the wing. So, it's fine. I mean, every plastic company has its own sort of brand of plastic that needs its own sort of special allowances and things like that.
Mm. Other interesting news from Dora Wings that have shown early CAD renders of what is clearly a Volti Vengeance. dive bomber.
Yes.
No,
Hopefully 48 scale.
Well, no mention of the scale, but knowing the way Dora operate, it's going to be both in 148 scale and 172nd scale versions, quite possible.
What is it?
Volti Vengeance. It was a dive bomber.
I love them.
The Royal Australian Air Force used them. The US Army Air Force hated them, and we ended up with them. And we used them in New Guinea and during the New Guinea campaigns, and we loved them. Our pilots loved them. HK Models will add to their lineup of 32nd scale DO 335 Piffle kits with their A10 trainer version.
Perfil.
Thank you, Ian.
Yeah, meaning arrow.
AVI models have 2 boxings of the new 172nd scale Cessna 01 Bird Dog coming our way. It's going to be US Army Bird Dog and also an Asian Bird Dog with markings for Japanese, Thai, and Korean operated aircraft. That's interesting. I never knew the Japanese Self-Defense Force used them. Interesting. It's been quite a wait, but apparently Airfix's 170 second scale Airfix Mark VC announced way back in January will see its release in November. And that is all from aviation side of things. Moving on to military vehicles, IBG models will add to their range of 72nd Crusader tank kits with a Crusader Mark III anti-aircraft with 40mm Bofors. Didn't even know they did a anti-aircraft one on that tank.
The Crusader.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, those weren't very popular. It depends on which one. There was 2 different types. There was the one with the was it 2 guns and one with a single. I think the single one was the more popular one. But the one with the twin guns wasn't too popular because it could not traverse as well as elevate at the same time or something.
You wouldn't have thought the Allies had much of a call for any aircraft, given they had air superiority over most of their fronts in the later part of the war. So that's interesting. But I guess it would have made a great infantry support.
I think it's just one of those because if you look at the old Italieri kit, they brought out a similar boxing of the anti-aircraft variants of the Crusader, and the problem is it's sort of like that. Just because they brought it out, people think that it was a real thing that was used often, but it wasn't. Just like AFV Club also brought out their Churchill, the one with the sort of tank destroyer looking version. Well, that never left England. So yeah, that's true. Dragon Models will release a 135th scale Tiger 1, the Gruppe Firmen DS tracks, and with no Zimmerit. Gee, you think there's enough Tigers out there, wouldn't you? Border Models are not slowing down with new announcements. The latest one is a 135th scale Tiger 1 early production, another Tiger from another company. Just showing the box art at this point, but the list of content sounds intriguing. Photo etch fret, Lincoln length tracks, yay! Metal gun, woohoo! And smoke launchers. Canvas cover for the muzzle and a wide variety of stowage boxes, ammunition boxes, packages, helmets and other accessories, also including barbed wire. The barbed wire is because the box art shows the Tiger with its sides covered in loops of barbed wire. Sounds like it'll be a very interesting kit. Now that's really clever from Border Models, throwing everything into it, so you don't have to worry about going and buying external accessories to sort of, beef up what it looks like. Does it say how the barbed wire is done?
No, I'll be interested to see how they do achieve that.
I've seen barbed wire and like razor wire done with photo etch, and you just sort of clip off a strip of this stuff, and you can just sort of manipulate
twist it a little bit. Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's quite hard to get the sort of 3-dimensional effect.
And it depends what scale you're talking about too. I mean, 1/72 scale, it wouldn't be worth it, but 1/35, yeah, I reckon possible.
Yeah.
Mini Art have announced another 1/35th scale M3 Lee, which we've already spoken about. And Tacom will be releasing a 1/35th scale combo kit of the 40 M76 pattern and the Jeep, which we've also talking about. So you're a bit slow there, Falcon. We beat you to it. Italeri will release... Italeri will release what I guess would be called in the old days a playset. Reichstag 1945.
Oh yes, I've seen that. It's like their big diorama series they used to bring out in the 1980s.
In this
we
set,
had like the big vac form base and a couple of tanks and paper figures.
So in this set, you're going to get a T-34/85, a Flak 88, plus 7 crew figures. You also get 32 Russian infantry figures, 32 German infantry figures. And if that wasn't enough, you also get a laser-cut MDF Reichstag, all in its glorious 1/72nd scale. The Reichstag is a bit truncated, but it gives you the idea. And apparently Airfix will have their new tool, 1/72nd scale Sherman Firefly, on the market in November.
Sorry, who was that?
Airfix. Sherman Firefly, 1/72nd scale.
72nd scale. Okay.
Gentleman scale.
Right.
Gentleman scale.
Well, at least in an armor kit from Airfix probably won't require any sort of sanding that aircraft kits require. So that soft plastic may not be as much of an issue.
Yeah, true. The Falcon has also posted some naval information there, but we've already beat him to the punch. Once again, he's a bit slow there. So there you go. That's all from the Falcon. That's all I've got for what's new in the modelling world. Do you guys get any sort of stuff you want to talk about?
No.
I don't think so. I mean, maybe I've seen a thing or two, but I've forgotten by now. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's new techniques, new this, new that floating through all the time. Someone figures out a new use for a product. But, you know, I can't remember all of them, or any of them, for that matter.
Okay. Well, what I think we might do then is we might swing over into the interview that I taped earlier on with Will, Jayne and Bryan Wall, who are the founders of an exciting new modelling company called Beacon. So we'll have a listen to that and we'll be back after we've heard it. And we're very pleased to have with us today from a brand new company, I should say, Beacon Models. We've got Will and Bryan. And Will, you're in the UK, aren't you?
That's right.
All right, well, let's kick off and hear from you. Will, what's your claim to fame? Who are you? What did you used to do in the past?
Okay. Well, I've been a model maker my entire life. I remember, I think the first model I built with my dad was a Airfix Red Arrows Hawk, or Nat. It was probably a Nat, actually. When I was probably 3 or 4, and then from then it was just a lifelong sort of love, really. And sort of when I was in school, I just kept building models. It was still what I went home to do, what I wanted to do. And by the time I was getting towards thinking about what I should do for uni, I thought, well, can I build models for a job? It turns out you can, which is really cool. Yeah. So I went to what was then called the Arts Institute at Bournemouth. I believe it's now called the Arts University Bournemouth, where I studied model making for design and media, which focuses on, you sort of learn the professional skills to industrial model making. So architecture, claymation, bit of makeup, prosthetics, a lot of CAD, which is what I ended up specializing in. So that was really cool. And once I graduated, I set up my own tiny little business. Well, half of it was making collectible model ships, initially in 1250 scale and later in 700 scale. And I started designing for other companies pretty soon after that. And I've just sort of built up a large library of kits over the years. And yeah, that's what I've spent my time doing.
Now, your warships, what was the name of the model company that you did your warships with?
Yeah, that's still going. That's Guilan. So that's the Welsh name for a seagull. It confuses some people initially, but it's what it's known as the brand now. It's too late to change it, but it works, I think. So it's Gwylan for anyone who wants to Google that. And I don't produce prolifically. At the moment, I'm focusing on very small runs, limited editions. So I mostly do ultra modern warships. So I've just at the moment I'm putting the finish to the new Algerian Miko frigate, which is a really interesting warship that's built in Germany, and it's going to be part of the Algerian Navy. I think they've got one. I think it's on trials at the moment. I'm not exactly sure. Really, really handsome ship. So yeah, I'm gonna release a kit of that.
We actually have the Miko ship in Australian service as well. So I was sort of following that potential as to whether I could build it in Australian Navy. There's a couple of little design changes and everything, which and I don't build in 700 scale, unfortunately. I'm a 1/350 scale ship builder, but there's a lot of guys.
I get a lot of questions about that. A lot of people want 350 scale stuff. I'm going to have to look into it eventually.
It just, as I get older and my eyes get worse and my fingers get fatter, it's 700 scale just is a bit too hard for me to build in. But anyway, so
I've got some bits right here. I don't know whether you can see them. There's a bit of hull. So that's how it's going to come in the box. It's 3D printing them as a manufacturer now. So that's new. No more resin casting, all 3D printed. So it's going to be really neat.
Or how are you finding the difference between 3D printing and resin casting? Is it easier, better quality?
It is now, thanks to some of the machines that have come on the market in the last couple of years. I use the Formlabs Form 2, but the Form 3 is the even newer, shinier version. I will get up to that eventually, but the Form 2 is really fantastic. And if you're clever about the way you design them and you conserve material so that the resin cost is low, it's a little bit more expensive than resin production in terms of total costs, but the detail's just amazing. And you can print undercuts more easily, details you don't have to remove. So for me, this is the first kit I've done with 3D printing production, but I think it's going to be the way forward for me, certainly. I don't think it would work if you were doing thousands, but if you're doing, 200, 300 kits in a production run in a limited edition, it works pretty well. I just need a bigger machine to do 350 scale. That's all it is. The bigger machines have a couple of extra zeros after them.
Unfortunately, yes. Well, let's not forget the other person sitting in the room, and that's Brian. G'day, Brian. How are you?
G'day. How's it going?
Good. So you're the other half of Beacon Models.
Yeah, apparently so. It just sort of happened.
What's your claim to fame, Brian?
I'm probably best known for working at Wingnut as one of the lead modelers there. My background is somewhat different to Will's in that I'm not really a hobbyist as such. I don't build models in my spare time apart from with my children. When I was a young lad, I did buy the odd Airfix kit and mangle it and paint it really badly and get fingerprints all over it. So I think I quickly realized I wasn't really the hands-on kind of guy. I studied product design at university, and I spent 7 years working in London for a design consultancy, designing all manner of weird and wonderful products, from tools to remove car windscreens, methadone delivery devices for recovering heroin addicts.
That's really a transferable skill across to the modelling world, isn't it?
Yeah. It's all relevant, eh?
Yeah.
So that was a consultancy, and then I moved to New Zealand in 2005 with my wife, who's a New Zealander, and I did about a year and a half working on an automated toilet system. Which was also a really, really cool project.
Well, hang on. Automated toilet system, so I don't have to go. It goes for me.
Well, it's actually quite relevant in today's COVID world, in that it was all sort of hands-free, all about cleanliness and not touching things that you shouldn't touch. And so in Japan, they've got toilets like that made by a company called Toto, which, there's a hand washing unit built into the toilet so you don't contaminate your clothes after you've cleaned yourself up and things like that. So it was actually a really interesting project, but unfortunately the guy we were working for was an entrepreneur. He was in his mid-70s and he had a heart attack, and the whole company got shut down, unfortunately, because he passed away. So after that, I was looking for work, and I saw this advert in the back of the local Wellington paper, the Dominion Post, looking for SolidWorks 3D modelers, when SolidWorks is the 3D software that I've used for over 20 years now. And it was almost like someone had written my CV into the back of the paper. It's like, hold on, this is all of these things in this very small advert are basically what I'm about. And so I thought, is this like April Fool's or something? So I rang up about that, and they wouldn't tell me what it was, but they said, it's working for one of Peter Jackson's companies. Come along for an interview. Even in the interview, they wouldn't tell me what it was. They said, just think of vintage cars and things like that. So it didn't twig to me. I didn't research. I didn't know about Peter's interest in aviation at the time. But I thought, oh, look, I'll take the job. It sounds great. So on my first day, I turned up and they said, oh, yeah, you're going to be designing scale model World War I aircraft. I'm like, whoa, that's different. Huh? That's not something I've done before. So that was 13 years ago. So I worked there for 13 years and it came to an end, sadly, this year. But many years of designing all sorts of aircraft and many enjoyable years, I'd say, as well. So not an industry I thought I'd ever get involved in, but the kind of CAD skills I've got and the attention to detail I learned over the years just lent themselves perfectly to this role. And it's what I've always been really good at is, you know, translating very complex forms into three-dimensional data on the computer that can be used to be manufactured. So that's me.
Do you and Will know each other previously, or you happen to be both at Telford and one was stalking the other, and or was it love over sort of the latest kit you were looking at there? How did it come to pass?
Wingnut had
we actually have a lot of stomping grounds. Sorry, Brian, you go first.
Yeah, well, there is other links. You're right, Will.
yeah.
Wingnut had a stand at Telford, and my vague memory of it was that Will popped past and we had a quick chat about stuff, and he left his business card. I don't think we talked for a huge amount of time, did we, Will? But you talked about the stuff you did.
There was so that day passed in a blur. I talked to all kinds of people, and because I was there just basically to find out what was going on in the scale models industry as an industry rather than as a hobbyist. So because I'm only an occasional hobbyist, I'd like to spend more time with it, but everything I end up doing gets in the way, as I'm sure we can all relate to. But most of my work's actually been in the tabletop gaming industry. So obviously Brian has a background designing kits for Wingnut Wings, and my background is designing kits for primarily Battlefront miniatures. So Flames of War, Team Yankee, 1/100 scale, tiny little tanks and things. I must have done a few dozen kits over the years for them. It must be getting on for nearly 60 to 100. I haven't even counted. It's a lot of kits. So I ended up, I knew about the tabletop industry, but not so much about the business side of the scale models industry. So I wanted to talk to people on stands, the business owners, the people who work there. And yeah, I had a really good time talking to Brian, and he showed me around the 132nd Lancaster, which is just the most awe-inspiring model kit I think I've ever seen. So yeah, that was a couple of years for you, wasn't it, buddy? It was
and
huge kit. But and I think I saw test shots there, and yeah, there was a love of the process that we both shared, and we'd sort of we had the same kind of approach to things, and yeah, it was just really interesting, and we sort of hit it off there. But I don't know if we were in touch again, because that was the November last year, was it?
When Wingnut closed down, we were made redundant. I sort of dug through all my contacts and found Will's business card. I'd kept 2 business cards from Telford Show, one of which was luckily Will's. So I sent him a message to say, look, you know, I'm out there looking for work. So if you hear of anything, then, you know, let me know. And so that's where the conversation started. And that's where the idea for Beacon came through, didn't it, Will, I think?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I'd been thinking about the kits that I wanted to make since Telford, because I remember I was walking past some of the special interest groups for 1/144 scale, and I thought there's just so much missing here. I mean, the really obvious stuff, you know, why is that? You know, I know it's a small scale, it's a niche scale, but I sort of cut my teeth in small niche scale. So first 1250 ships that are more of a collector's hobby than a modeler's hobby, to be honest. 700 scale kits, they're really small. And I thought, well, if there's such a huge following for pocket scale, you know, low shelf space ships, why is there no serving for this for aircraft? Because aircraft is the biggest market. And I thought something's going on here. Either there's an opportunity that's being missed, or people really don't like this scale. And I think we've disproven the second since we launched our social media, haven't we, Brian?
I think the interesting thing as well, Will, when you say people don't like the scale, it's like when Wingnut started up, people didn't really like World War I 132nd as much as they do now, because the kits that were out there weren't that easy to build. The rigging was a pain, and I think everything got turned around with Wingnut, and we drew in a lot more customers from other parts of the industry in that respect. So I think we're hoping we'll do a similar thing with 144th, in that there'll be really good quality kits that'll be quick to do, and you can buy a lot of them and have a bit of fun, but they'll still be, you know, up to the standard that they need to be enjoyable. So.
And I think that it's not so much that 1/144th scale hasn't been. I mean, because amongst the airliner guys who build, you know, airliners, it's huge. And in fact, that's a sort of constant scale for building, you know, 707s and 737s or whatever they enjoy building. And that it's that hasn't been much down at the other end. The traditional sort of kits like the Spitfires and the Corsairs and the Mustangs in 1/44th that was good enough for you to want to go and purchase and build it. I think that, Will, I think you hit the nail on the head. That the beauty about the scale is that it's generally is only about 20 pieces, if that, in a kit. You can sort of
20 pieces would be a bit indulgent for a single engine fighter.
Yeah, exactly.
To be honest,
and you can whack it together pretty quick, and you're ready to paint. But the issue has been is that, you know, fighters from World War II or there haven't been a lot of them around, and in the quality that would tempt you to go and buy it and have a crack at it.
Yeah, there's no way to build a collection. Small scales really lend themselves to collections, which is what I learned in the ship market. So if you release a ship in a small scale, say 1250 or 700, say you do Soviet cruiser from the Cold War in 700 scale, it makes no sense for your second kit to be a completely different warship from a completely different navy from a completely different era, because your customers will be expecting something to complement what they've already bought, which is just how I think that's the convergence of the collecting hobby and the building hobby, where it sort of comes together. Whereas 30 seconds still is more of a builder's hobby. You know, it seems to me that, you know, someone might build an F104, do really nice job on it, maybe enter it into a competition, you know, great stuff. And then they'll do a complete about face, and then they might have modeled one of Brian's models. It's it is less, I'm not saying there's never continuity, because some people love specific subjects and model only those. But there seems to be a lot more continuity in the buying habits of the small scale modelers. And nobody's really taking that approach in the aero modeling industry for the kits. Like, we have got some real contenders out there, you know, so some of the Platts kits, the Sweet kits, Edward, which at least the ones I've got are reboxed Platts kits, which is fine because they're available, and it's hard to find Platts over here, and let alone Sweet. You really have to go out of your way to find them, which is a complaint that we get, and that people are hoping we'll help them with. So that just sort of was where I sort of saw there was a need for these small, highly detailed, high quality kits that had a sort of a narrative to the release schedule. So, you know, for example, our first collection being the Battle of Britain, we've got at least 10 kits we want to do, but far more aircraft actually took part in or saw combat in that year, in the summer of 1940. So there's even more scope. It's just everything gets a bit niche past the point. And from there, if we take that approach, you know, it gets really exciting, because there's so many different interesting areas of aviation, periods, you know, conflicts, all that kind of thing. And no one's really taking that approach. So that's what we want to do.
I think it's important to point out as well just now that we're not necessarily going to be solely a 1/144th company. That may well be the way we start out, but we may move into different scales and so on. It's just, you know, it's a good place to start if we've got a gap in the market, because we obviously need to make some money to get started.
Yeah. And it's low risk too, because, you know, if we were to go in with an all singing, all dancing 30-second scale kit that we might want to do, because I mean, I'm not really wedded to any particular scale. I just love nice models. You know, you'd be talking hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of tooling, potentially. It's extremely expensive. Whereas, you know, 1/4/4, it's still not cheap, you know, to tool a Spitfire or a Messerschmitt, but it's manageable, especially by getting the community involved and getting them on board with a crowdfunding platform like Kickstarter. Actually gets them directly involved, so they feel like, you know, as they will indeed have a real part in the process of getting this off the ground. And it's just, it's a really good launch pad for us. But yeah, we'd certainly love to do everything that everyone asks us to do.
Well, speaking of launchpad, so you started off with a Kickstarter, have you?
Yes, we're in the process of verifying everything at the moment. So Kickstarter has a lot of back end stuff though. So for example, I'm having to plug in all the business banking and all that stuff so they can say, right, you're legit, plug your campaign in, off you go. We'll give you a date. But yes, we've chosen to go with Kickstarter, mostly because I have experience with it from the tabletop industry. There's a huge tabletop and miniatures contingent on Kickstarter. The industry's really found its home there, and a lot of new companies, sort of miniatures or board game or card game startups, are now going to Kickstarter, doing really well. It's providing a really valuable service to that industry. And I thought, well, why is there no one there from the scale models industry? This is very strange, because we're really not that different. I mean, what we get out of the hobby is slightly different, but in terms of, we're a company that makes small models of things. You know, why is the tabletop industry there and there's no scale models at all? It's weird.
Yeah, exactly right. That's exactly right. So, I haven't asked you, Beacon. Why did you choose the name Beacon? Is there some sort of special thing behind that?
Brian, you want to take that one?
I think that's yours, Will, isn't it? Really, it's
well, I mentioned stomping grounds, and then you said there was more to it. So it's
where Will and I are from in the UK is actually not too far apart. Actually, I'm English, but I'm from Herefordshire, and are you from Aberystwyth? Is that right, Will?
No, much further east, Abergavenny.
Abergavenny.
I don't have an accent, but I grew up. I'm Welsh born and bred.
So near Abergavenny is some hills, some mountains called the Brecon Beacons. So that's where the
hills by New Zealand standards.
Yeah, very small lumps.
Yeah, minor undulations in the land.
Yeah. So I'm aware of them as well. We used to holiday in Wales a lot, so I've driven past them many times. So there is a sort of geographical link for me as well. And there's also an irony in that Will and I actually studied foundation art at the same art college in Hereford, which is not too far from Brecon either. So and yet this was 10-15 years apart, but we have a sort of a kind of history there as well. So it makes sense.
Same tutor.
Sorry.
Same tutor.
Yes,
we both had Roger, didn't we? It's like, wow,
same crazy art tutor. So it makes sense to have a geographical link in our name, I think. So the beacon thing also appeals in the sense that it's a hill, but it's also a source of light and maybe inspiration. I don't know. Also, it's linked.
It just fitted, didn't it?
Aviation and things like that as well. So
it's got a very rich military history, actually. The area it's where the SAS do all of their selection and training, or at least I don't know if they do now, but when I was growing up, you'd always see squaddies trooping everywhere.
When I was
right through the village,
the SAS camp was in Hereford, and they used to regularly have bomb threats in Hereford. We used to go to the cinema in Hereford, and I remember one time getting in, and they'd cordoned off just by the cinema because they'd had a bomb threat. So we got all the way to Hereford, and we were like, we can't go to the cinema because the IRA have decided they want to blow us up, So then
you get the low-flying Herculeses coming through the valleys as well. That's always fun.
Yeah.
So you see all kinds of aircraft flying through the valleys of the beacons, the Black Mountains. When I was a kid, I'm sure Brian saw the same thing. We'd have Hercules really low enough to shake the frames of the windows, rattle the panes. Used to have Harriers chasing each other. Tornadoes. I'm not sure, but I'm sure I saw some USAF ones when I was a kid as well. Of course, the famous one is the Mac Loop. That's further north. That's in Snowdonia, I think, or near Snowdonia. So that's where you see all the footage of them flying at crazy low levels. But they used to do that in the beacons as well. So it just sort of fitted because we tossed back and forth a couple of names and logos, and none of them really clicked. And then when I sort of suggested this one, we were just like, yeah, that works. It just, you can't quite say why, but it works.
But what a crazy time to even contemplate starting up a model company right in the middle of a pandemic. But you know what? There's a bit of a silver lining there, because anecdotally we're hearing that all the model shops are absolutely booming at the moment with mail orders because people are stuck at home, and so they're turning back to the old faithfuls. Even I was reading an article last night, the model railway area of the hobby is booming as well.
Yeah, I heard, I know that the miniatures and war games people are doing very well. And I can't remember. I think it was one of the chaps from Alclad I was talking to very briefly. I put in an order for Alclad and asked him some questions or something, and they said they were doing roaring trade, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I think that, like you said, you saved so much money not going out doing things, and people have to have something to divert their time. And I think, yeah, a lot of people are getting back into models or doubling down on the modeling they already do. Maybe renovating an extra room for an extra stash. Yeah, busy time.
Well, it's amazing the amount of people we get writing into the show, and they're saying that just come back to the hobby. And I think in the last 6 months, those type of emails that we've had on messages it's a huge uptick. So I think there's a lot of people who are going, maybe I should start building models. But even things like, as you said, you touched on it before, wargaming. I mean, the old traditional sort of board game, they've been booming as well, because just people are stuck at home and just trying to find a new way. There's only so much Netflix you can watch, isn't there, before you go, I've seen that.
Very much so.
Now what am I going to do?
Yeah. We'd burn through Tiger King in a matter of hours at the beginning of the lockdown, and I'm sure everyone did.
I have to say you were desperate if you ended up watching Tiger King.
Oh, come on, there's some gold in that. It really was. It was just like, what? I loved it. Yeah, me and my wife were glued to that, and we had a new baby as well. Our son was born the day that Boris announced that we were going into lockdown that night. So I was like, oh, cheers, mate. That's really helpful.
Hey, Brian, is there any difference designing models for 1/44th scale than there is for 1/32nd scale? Do you have to sort of think differently? And because I know, no doubt, both of you will want to cram as much detail as you can into it. So is there any sort of real challenges sort of going down in scale?
Well, certainly initially it's a lot quicker. It's actually a lot more rewarding initially, because you can get your result out within a matter of weeks as opposed to months. As far as the design and thought process goes, it's very similar in that we have to research and we have to get our details right, because even at that small scale, people will notice. But the modeling, the initial stages of the modeling are very similar. We want the forms, the shapes of the wings and the fuselage all to be as accurate as possible. And then also, researching detail is very similar, but a lot of it can be simplified into sort of panel lines and so on. Instead of, building surfaces up out of things, we can actually just represent them with a line, which is obviously significantly quicker. We also have a lot less parts because a lot of them can just be molded onto the wings or the fuselage and won't be separate parts like they would be at 1/32nd. And then a lot of the internal detail isn't there as well. Now, what we found with a lot of 1/44th kits is that they don't have a cockpit. So with what we're doing is we're trying to give some basic cockpit details as well within reason, because a lot of it's incredibly small. But we want people to have a seat and maybe a dashboard and a few little bits and bobs to represent something going on internally. So the design process is very similar. The tooling constraints are very similar. But like I say, it's just an awful lot quicker, and in that respect, almost more rewarding. But when you design a 1/32nd kit and it's taken 6 months before you get any initial test shots, that is incredibly rewarding because you've waited so long. But with this, I can get a kit out within 50 to 60 hours worth of work, which for me is 2 or 3 weeks. And I can look at it on the screen and I think, wow, yeah, that looks good. And then we can do some renders and whack them on our website and generate some interest. So it's quite exciting because it's so much more fast paced in that respect.
Whereabouts are you guys planning to go in regards? Because I see you sort of concentrating on Battle of Britain at this point, which is a great jumping off point. Who doesn't like aircraft in the Battle of Britain? And you're also doing modeler sets and gamer sets. Actually, let's just touch on that. So what's the difference going to be between a modeler set and the gamer set?
So at the moment, the details of that keep shifting because we're having to be quite careful, especially with the Kickstarter, because we want to help people understand that primarily we're about models. We are a scale models company, but we want to be at least sympathetic to the needs of gamers. Now, 1/4 scale is a wargaming scale, so you can there. You've got systems like Wings of Glory, I think it is, and I think Blood Red Skies might be slightly smaller scale, but yeah, 1/4 is a very typical tabletop scale. I know that all of Flames of War and Team Yankee, Fast Movers, all the jets and the ground attack aircraft are all 1/4. So they're a smaller scale than the tanks and helicopters, which is what I usually model at 1/100th for them. Again, it's about, you've got that huge number of people on Kickstarter and indeed in the tabletop community who have an interest in models in this scale. So the difference in terms of what comes in the box, I think what we're aiming for is for the plastic will be the same pretty much, but you'll get clear flying bases. Now, we're not sure what kind yet. Now, there's the traditional hex base, which is fairly ubiquitous, but we just need to make sure we get it right. And actually, I need to talk to some more people who might have a better idea. Say, oh no, that base was popular in the early 2000s. Now people are using these, because I'm not quite in touch with that side of things as much as I'd like to be at this point. But in terms of the kits themselves, things like having a wheels up option is really important, because obviously gamers are going to be modeling them on flight stands, so they'll want the gear up. They won't want propeller blades, so we're going to a blank propeller spinner, so they can just stick that on, just so that they're robust and simple for the tabletop for people who want to use them for gaming miniatures. And there's like a little dimple in the wing root where people can put a pin vise drill and just make a hole for their flying base, and it's only going to need a poke. You could probably even do it with a scalpel. The plastic's quite thin in that area. So although the focus is definitely on delivering really high quality scale models in that small scale, we don't want them to be so complex as to put off the tabletop gamers, and we want to actually make them tabletop friendly as much as we can, because you kind of can sort of attract two birds with one plate of grain, so to speak. Hopefully we'll be able to serve both markets at least pretty well. I still think, well, it's up in the air. We don't know. We don't know who's going to be more interested. But obviously, we'd like to build a community of collectors in the scale modelers. But we absolutely want to get the gamers involved as well, because there is, like I said, that rich history in the scale of gaming in aerial combat.
I think the point is that the kits will not be compromised in any way by the association with the gaming. So primarily, it will be quality scale models, which can also be used for gaming with a few extra parts as well as already mentioned. So
yeah, exactly right.
That's our focus.
And it's interesting, I think you both picked up on something that model makers are essentially sort of collectors, and I think collectors are essentially modelers as well at the same time. We seem to for myself, for example, I had this dream to build Cold War US bombers, and so it was impossible to get all the ones that I wanted in 1/72nd. So I found that 1/44th sort of catered to that, and I've got them all bar the B-52 at the moment, and they're just sitting there sort of waiting to be built. So I go, am I a collector or am I a builder?
Anyway. Blurry, don't they?
The lines do blur. You know what? It doesn't matter either way. Just as long as I'm having fun at the end of the day and staying out of the pub, I think the wife's happy with that. So, if somebody wants to go and find out about what you guys are doing, have you got a website? Have you got a Facebook page? Where can we go to find out more information?
Yeah, we've got... so the website's www.beacon-models.com. And you can search for Beacon Models on Instagram or Facebook. We should appear. We've got pretty good presence on there now, for considering the pages have been live for how long, Brian? Maybe 3 weeks.
Well, yeah, no more than a month.
Like that. It's not been long, and we've built a really good following, and because I've been handling that side of things while Brian's been modeling the 109. And we've just met such amazing people who are so supportive, and I've been DMing quite a lot of them, and they've been talking about what they like to do, what they'd like to see, and also just interested in us as a team, as a company. A lot of people are really pleased to see a British company getting back into the model game, and a new British company, which is just nice. I mean, it's just where we were. I mean, ultimately, scale models can come from anywhere, and be of great quality. But people seem to like that. it's like they grew up with Airfix, things like that, which is obviously the best known British brand, and that seems to just, people enjoy that. You can find us on the website, Facebook, Instagram. We don't have a Twitter at the moment. I'm looking into that. I just don't know whether it's at this time the most effective platform to promote the brand, but I think we will have to. I've registered the account. I just haven't got any content there. But yeah, check us out and give us a follow. Everything really helps.
Terrific. And do you guys got a sort of timeline that you're thinking of? When are you hoping in your business plan to see plastic actually put into a box and sent out to a store?
Yeah, if the Kickstarter goes well and if we reach our funding goals, we have a couple of tool makers we're talking to at the moment. We'll choose which one's going to sort of be best for us closer to the time. But our goal is to deliver everything for the Kickstarter by summer 2021, if it goes ahead. Now, it's very much a case of, under promise and over deliver. So we don't want to be saying, everyone will have their Spitfires and 109s by February, and then we have tooling problems and we have to go back and cut steel again. That would be a nightmare. So obviously we're looking to deliver it quicker than that if we can. And if you're the type that likes buying them in a hobby shop, which I know I am, I love going into hobby shops and actually picking up a box and looking at it, taking it to the till. I would like to have some retail partners by the summer, certainly next year. But if you get on Kickstarter, obviously you're going to get them first before anyone else, and at a better price than you'll find in a hobby shop as well.
So the first aircraft you're doing, obviously the Spitfire, and what's the other one?
But a Messerschmitt 109, so it'll be a double kit most likely.
Yep.
Dogfight duo. So those.
Don't know if we could use that name. I think that might be an Airfix trademark. But,
oh well, you could get some free press by yourselves by actually using that, and then I think and then getting sued. That'd be a great way of getting free press. Not perhaps the way you want to get it.
It certainly would be, but we'd like to be friends with everyone else in the industry as much as we can.
Well, it's funny. I've been,
but yeah, as Brian said, there'll be two in the box.
Yeah, it's funny. I've been chasing Airfix for all years now to try and get them on the show, and I know that. Our friends over in Canada on the Scale Model podcast, they've been trying the same. It's been a bit of a competition. They're just ducking and weaving and not getting back to us, which is really odd for a large sort of company. And anyhow.
Yeah, I think certainly the way sort of Wingnut worked was quite sort of secretive, and we're trying to do it the other way around. We want to involve the community and take suggestions, and we want to be open and honest about what it is we're going to release and, generate some trust in that respect as well, so people know that we're genuine and we want to supply the community with what they want at the quality and the price that they want to pay.
Although having said that, Richard was always from Wingnut Wings, Richard Alexander. He was always approachable, and you could always get him to have a chat, but he'd never tell you what sort of coming down the pike. He was always very cagey in that respect.
Yeah, I think that comes from the film industry, obviously, because Peter Jackson being the sort of funder behind the whole project was, all the film stuff was very secretive, and he wanted to keep this way as well. And I think it works to generate interest. They know what's coming from Wingnut Wings. We're really excited, get a snippet of things. So it's a good way of doing it, but I don't think it's for us. I think we're more sort of, like I say, want to be more open and tell people what's coming up and get people involved, and we can discuss with people what they want and what variations they want, color schemes and things like that. And then we can work out what the best approach is to give the customer what they want. Because I think maybe part of the downfall of Wingnut was that they didn't always listen to what the customers wanted and just produce whatever they wanted, whatever Peter wanted, which was great because there were a lot of subjects out there which no one would ever have done otherwise. Yeah. But really, as a business model, it just didn't work. So, and
I think you create a bit of excitement, and hype by sort of letting people know what you guys are planning in the future. Because people go, "Oh, geez, that'd be great to get one of them." So it's a self-fulfilling.
It's another
prophecy.
advantage of the scale.
Yes, absolutely.
Because as Brian was saying, the data for the tooling is so quick to develop, compared to larger scales. So when we say, at the moment we're comfortable saying we want to do these 10 aircraft from the Battle of Britain, and we've been talking about that on forums and Facebook and Instagram, things like that, because we know that that's our year's work from now if everything goes to plan. We know we'll be doing those, and it's only going to be in the next year that we'll be doing them. Whereas if we're doing larger scales, it might be 2 years, it might be 3 years, and you've got to strike a balance between getting people excited, which is a really lovely thing because the community gets involved and the word spreads around and you do get a lot of help. But also if it goes on too long, people do start saying, well, where is it? You're not really talking to us anymore. What's going on? You got us all excited, and so you definitely want to avoid that, which again, the rapid turnaround that Bryan talks about is a huge advantage there. And also, like you said, with people helping us out, we've had all kinds of really helpful technical advice or just suggestions that we hadn't thought of. For example, Bryan's been working on some bomb racks for the 109. So for the fighter bomber versions and the later, I think it was the E7s with the fuel tanks. So although that takes us beyond the scope of the Battle of Britain, what it means is that, for example, if we follow up with a early North Africa collection, we've already got a 109 that can be built as a trop, with the right decals, with the right paint scheme. So people suggesting those things are saying, oh, well, you're doing the AME. Well, are you going to include these parts? Because for one extra part, you've got a whole new kit, basically. So that sort of thing really helps us, because neither Bryan nor I are historians. We do our best. We read around as much as we can. We Google incessantly, and there's still stuff that we're just banging our heads against the wall. Oh, yeah. Markings are a nightmare. Squadrons, trying to find the ones to do. Oh my God, that has been such take. It really has. Because that was one thing I should have said about the Gamers set is that it makes sense to have a sheet of decals that has one squadron in it, or several aircraft from one or two squadrons, rather than a famous aircraft here, a famous aircraft there, or a well-known tail number, that kind of thing. So, gamers will be able to put the decals on to represent aircraft from the same flight or the same squadron. So that's going to make that quite interesting. But yeah, finding out what those should be is surprisingly difficult. It's so much, there's a lot of debate, because you'll have one photo that was from 1 week in 1940, and then 2 weeks later, the roundels change slightly and everyone's sort of arguing which version is best. And you can't really see the other roundel either. So you're not really sure what you're doing. It does get tricky. It requires a lot of care and research.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. So guys, you've been chatting for a long time here. So as a final plug, so whereabouts can people find you again?
So on our website, that's beacon-models.com, and search for us on Facebook. I believe that's beacon-models again, and we're beacon_models on Instagram. I'm fairly certain of those, but even if you search without the dash or underscores, you'll find us.
Well, I'm awfully excited to see a new model company sort of pop its head above the parapet. I reckon that's fantastic, and hence the reason for getting you guys on the show. We certainly want to encourage as much as we can, and anything new that comes along can only help but build the hobby. So, Bryan, you got any last words there?
Oh, well, thank you for your time. It's good to speak to you. I hope that people will get involved and want to contact us and talk to us about what we're doing. Just send us a message on Facebook or email us, and we're all ears, guys. So, anything you want us to consider, we're ready to listen.
Terrific. And Will?
Just to reiterate what Bryan said, we really want to thank everyone that's supported us on social media so far and sent such positive messages. Everyone's been really excited, really helpful, and we'd love to keep that energy going, because community involvement is going to be really important to us going forward. It's definitely a big part of our business.
All right, well, keep in touch, guys, and let us know what's happening, and more than happy to let the rest of our listeners know as well, because I'm pretty sure they're going to be excited to find out what's going on into the future. So thanks for being on the show, and no doubt we'll speak again soon.
Thank you.
No worries. Bye. Well, that was a particularly interesting discussion with Beacon Models, and what really excites me about it is where they were talking about when they do their decals, that they're going to do decals that will. So if you buy 4 of their kits in their in their gamers set, you're going to be able to get a whole squadron of decals. So if you're building 4 aircraft from a squadron or a staffel, for example, the decals are going to match that particular numerically the aircraft out of the squadron, which I think is a great idea.
Definitely, yeah.
All right, gents. I think that's taken us over nearly 2 hours now. So I think it's time to sort of do a sign off. You got any final things you guys want to chat about before we say adios?
Sure,
amigos?
I've got one small thing to talk about.
Sure.
So I find it weird. Like, me and Dave were talking while grabbing a coffee and stuff before, that it's kind of weird when modelers buy die cast.
Oh yes,
Kits.
yes. Hang on. I used to actually collect die-cast aircraft before I got back into model building again.
Yeah, and that's fine because you sold them all off.
I sold them all off, yeah.
Because at some point you realise I can do better than this.
Yeah.
Right? But I know some people who still buy die-cast stuff.
There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that, and I completely understand if there's no plastic kits available. And if you want to buy classic Australian muscle car, there aren't many options for model kits.
Yeah, but some people don't want to build. They just want to purchase something and have it instantaneously ready to go. There it is on their shelf.
I still don't understand it though. I mean,
no, I get it.
Especially when it's sitting there going, I'm kind of crappy.
And
you can do better than me, but...
And there's a huge subculture of die-cast collectors that collect construction equipment, like, bulldozers and...
there's a niche for everything, right?
Yeah, it's a real super big subculture. And in fact, if you go to a die-cast shop, one that just does die-cast stuff...
Oh, right, yeah.
You'll find there's a whole heap of that there. And that's not
also...
also...
think it's weird that they can actually, die-cast, make metal molded kits of these things, and for some reason they can turn a profit where making a plastic kit of the same thing can't.
That's a damn fine point. Good point, actually. Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, I don't even know how you do die cast. I mean, obviously you'd have to have a mold, wouldn't you, of some description, and you just pour the molten metal into it. Is that how it works?
Yeah, I guess
it must be.
I mean, I don't know how they go about the molding process, whether they do it the same way they do engine blocks and things.
And then you got to look at the additional costs of having your labour there to paint and assemble the model.
Yeah.
And then package it, because the packaging is a lot more intricate than what we get with our plastic
they always
kits.
got the clear plastic molded cover that goes over the top.
Oh, not just that. You've got the expanded foam protection that it all sits in, and it's covered with tissue paper and stuff like this at different parts of the
and they got the wire tie-off things to hold it in there.
No.
Yeah, they usually put them over the wheels and stuff so that it doesn't.
Yeah.
So it doesn't fall out when you turn it upside down.
No, I was thinking of some of the aircraft that I bought.
Oh,
that didn't
aircraft.
have tie downs. Yeah.
I was thinking more like cars and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of those kits, you can get. They go for $150 for an aircraft. I'm just thinking.
I guess when you don't have to make it yourself, people are much more inclined to buy. I guess.
Well, and
that's the only way you can possibly explain it, right?
And it's cheaper too.
Yeah, that's weird.
Because to buy a die-cast kit, you can spend like $150 on a 48 scale or a really sort of large aircraft 1/72 scale one. And so it's $150. But if you then look at how much we pump into our hobby to get all the aftermarket stuff, the paints, the equipment, tools.
Do you think there are river counters in the
God,
die-cast space as well?
Yeah.
Oh, that one doesn't look shaped right.
I guess
it would be.
But you can compare. You can compare die casting, collecting, and model making to fishing. It's a lot cheaper if I want to have a barramundi just to go down the fish shop and buy it than it is for me to buy all the fishing equipment, jump on a plane, go up to Northern Australia where the barramundi run, catch one, fillet it, skin it, and all the rest of it, whatever you do to a fish, I don't know, and then bring it home and cook it. You see what I'm saying?
I think it's one of those things where it seems like apples versus apples, but it's really apples versus oranges.
And don't forget the civil airline dudes who collect the 1/144th scale die cast. It's a huge market.
Oh, but that's got to be the most profitable one, because think about it. You just hose those things down with white paint. And
you go get all the right.
Dunzo.
Yeah, be all the right decal sheets and
But
everything.
you think about like all the race cars that you often see.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
How do they turn a profit on that stuff? I mean, they're just
And-
sticking those things on all the time.
But I've got to hand it to, some of the die-cast car and, like the Formula One stuff. That's really intricate sort of models in die-cast.
Yeah.
And you can even get them where the doors pop open and you turn the wheel and the steering wheel and the wheels turn.
Yeah, I used to have
You
a
can-
couple of them as a kid.
But, it's a big segment of that part of the market.
And there's those people that buy die-cast kits and pull them apart and rebuild them.
Yeah, but see, like, we're talking about like the market, but comparing the markets between the two. But I'm more interested in the overlap. Like, what kind of modeler buys die-cast stuff? That's a bit weird.
Well, ones who I know for the last few years, there's been a guy heading to Melbourne Expo every year, and he always has rebuilt die-cast cars, and they're usually the larger ones, and usually Australian muscle cars that he totally rebuilds, repaints, and makes them more accurate.
I remember seeing like this modeler, right? And he buys, I think there are like kits that are like die-cast, like the actual kits that you have to paint and build yourself. And he'll essentially like do like scratch building, but in metal. So he'll,
Wow.
For example, like there'll be like some 1960s like car, and it's got like vents on the side, and he's decided that's not accurate enough, and he just like cuts that out and then fabricates metal to replace all that. And it's like really like extreme.
But,
But I mean, when I watch it, I sort of think back to stuff my dad used to say about like the differences between working with wood and working with steel.
yeah.
It's like with wood, it's a completely different game, because once you get rid of something, you can't really put it back in. Whereas with metal, you can just weld it back up or braze it or whatever, and just you can add more material in, and it
Same
doesn't
with
look
plastic.
any different.
Yeah,
You
same
know,
with plastic. You can do the same with plastic.
Yeah.
But see, aren't we as modelers fundamentally collectors also?
Most yes. Most
Yeah.
people, yes. I'm a weird one because I throw my models away and stuff.
Yeah. But I mean, you just look at your stash though. Isn't that a collection of some description, or you don't have a big
No,
stash?
not necessarily. The only reason why I even have a stash, right, is because I know that if I don't buy it now, someone else will, and then I'll never be able to get it when I want it.
And see, that's where I think that the die-cast crowd fit in, because they are, at the heart of it, just pure collectors.
Yeah, they're definitely collectors.
So they're feeding that part of it, and they're still having a great sort of thing sitting on their shelf. Not necessarily, perhaps, 100% realistic to the likes of, some...
Well, but yeah, I mean, like you think about between buying it and then putting it on the shelf, that's the entire journey for them.
Oh, yeah, but you can...
Whereas for us, we buy it, we hold on to it for 6 months, and then we go, oh, it's about time I started this, and then you start building it, and then 3 months down the line, if you're quick, you've got a mold to put on your shelf.
Yeah. But either way, they're still good conversation pieces.
True.
Yeah,
Both the finished model and a die-cast model.
yeah.
Looking in their shelf with the light shining down on
Do
it.
you think, here's an interesting facet to it. Do you think the wives of people who collect die-cast cars are as irritated by their husband's hobby as modelers' wives are with theirs?
Oh, I think if a wife is irritated, she's going to be irritated regardless whether you're a model collector, a fisher, or you restore cars or whatever. If you're going to irritate, if they're going to be irritated, they're going to be irritated regardless.
Yeah, I suppose. Because
That's usually caused because you're not giving her enough attention.
Absolutely.
No, that's not it. Not necessarily it. I think it's just like it's more a decor kind of thing. Like, women like to, have their house, presentable to guests, and they don't want their husband stuffing it up with all this stuff, These
Yeah, but
nerdy things on show.
Yeah, but my nerdy stuff is all down my end of the house. It's all,
Yeah, that's fine, But
And
they don't like it in the living spaces out the front.
Well, yeah, I know. I mean, if you you can't sort of let your hobby sort of encroach into the I mean, we've discussed this. We had Michelle on the show many episodes back in episode 50 or something, and she
but I mean,
all
like,
this.
there's always going to be like those much more tolerant wives who are quite fine with that sort of thing. But it's I'm talking about the stereotype about
the stereotype. But there's a lot of modelling partners out there. There's a lot of people out there whose wives share the same sort of passion or interests.
Yeah. But see, like I've also met modelers who have said, "Oh yeah, I have to hide my model kits, the unbuilt ones, in my parents' house, or in the cavity in the roof space of my garage, because otherwise, if my wife sees it, it's because much like there are very generous souls out there who are very tolerant of their partner's interests and hobbies. There are also very intolerant ones at the other end of the spectrum, right? To be honest, I don't know how they can live like that.
I think if they're intolerant of your hobby, they're going to be intolerant of anything you do. Personally,
well, yeah, I mean, like,
but then again,
you got to worry about these sort of people. It's like
it's usually time to get out of Dodge.
Well, thankfully, I don't have that problem.
Me neither.
All right, guys. Geez, we're coming up for... Well, this one's really gone a long way, and we've hit some really weird, wonderful subjects.
That's what happens when you get me in the studio, Dave.
I'm just hanging out there for Ian to be back in the studio as well. We miss you, Ian.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
Yes, we do.
All right. Hopefully, next episode, we'll certainly have you back, and we'll be... and I'll talk to you live, and I'm saying it with quotation
by the
marks.
way, I've got since I'm here, I've been able to pick up the book of catchphrases that someone
from
sent us.
Tony Jacob, yes,
from Tony Jacob, and there's not, to be honest, there's actually not that much in here that's actually worth using. I mean, what am I like? I can't exactly say. Show me the money.
You can do that as a
catchphrase sign off.
What? Yeah.
Because I don't. No one shows me money. I show people money. Model companies. I show them my money, and they say thank you very much. We will take that money. I said, and I've received kits and other things in exchange.
So what you're saying is that Tony failed you.
I don't know. I mean, he probably failed himself because it's he went to the trouble of sending this in, and he's not getting much out of it, to be honest.
And speaking of which, Tony, thanks very much for the latest little special parcel you sent. I'm going to pass it over to Ian because he hasn't got.
Here's another one. Me, Tarzan, you, Jayne. Not very useful for modelling podcasts.
Hey, you got a whole book there. You got 300 odd pages. I'm sure there must be a phrase.
You'll find something.
A catchphrase that will seek to show somewhere.
Yeah.
I've never even heard of some of these sayings. They just sound weird to me.
Take it away and study it assiduously.
I'm better off leaving it here, actually, when you think about it.
Why?
Because I don't conduct my... Well, if all things go well...
No. Take it home with you and put it on your bookshelf. It'll make you look more interesting.
I don't have a bookshelf. I have a modelling shelf, all right?
It'll make you look more interesting and important when people come to your house. They say, oh, Julian's got a book on catchphrases. What a very up-to-date chap he is.
He must be quite refined.
I would have to put a sticker on the spine saying, I didn't buy this. This does not reflect on me and my choices.
Okay, Ian, sign off from you.
Photo etch is your friend.
Julian.
Hang on, let me open the book. Oh, here's a good one.
Yeah.
Here come the judge.
Here come the judge.
I don't know what that's supposed to refer to, but in any case, I do judge models on occasion, so it's as close as I've been able to get.
Thanks very much. All right, and from me, we'll see you in a fortnight. Thanks for listening. Well, we sure hope you enjoy the show as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you. Great to have Julian back in the studio, and hopefully Ian will be back soon. In the meantime, don't forget to listen to the other 3 Scale Model podcasts that we highly recommend. First of all, you have the Scale Model podcast out of Canada with Stuart and a rotating band of chairs as well. Of course, you've got those banjo-picking, whiskey-sipping hayseeds from Kentucky, Dave and Mike from the Plastic Model Mojo, I should say. And last but not least, the Plastic Posse podcast, the band of rough riders from various parts of the US that have a great little show down there. We'll be back in a fortnight. My name's Dave, and see you soon.